Chapter 1107. Old B** starred, you're behaving like a B** starred with the power of the Saint Realm. How dare you say such shameless words? Lin Sun's black eyes were cold, and his chest was burning with rage. He would not compromise, nor would he allow himself to be captured without putting up a fight. Bowing his head would only bring him greater humiliation and death. These old fellows had attacked without any regard for their dignity. If they did not kill him, how could they be satisfied? Ha ha, you have a sharp tongue. You're just a small ant. Do you think you're invincible just by borrowing the power of the restriction? You're still far from it. At this moment, the bloody slaughter saint could not wait any longer and made the first move. From a distance, he slapped Lin Sun like an elder lecturing an unfilial descendant. It was a slap with endless humiliation. Fellow cultivator, slow down. This small ant still has opportunities. Don't be in a hurry to kill him. Dao Kun and Miao Hua hurriedly said. They seemed to be kind, but their intentions were actually more vicious. Boom! Lin Sun controlled the power of the restriction and resisted. In an instant, the starlight was like a tide, and all sorts of lights and waves surged, blocking the attack. Unexpectedly, the eyes of the saints lit up when they saw this scene. They said, "This lad can really use the power of the Star Chess C's restriction. Doesn't this mean that if we capture him, we can obtain the method to control the Star Chess C's restriction?" The Star Chess C was covered by the heavenly cycle stars formation. Since ancient times, no one had been able to break it. Even saints would encounter danger if they entered it rashly. However, if they could grasp the profoundness of the heavenly cycle stars formation, it would be equivalent to grasping a supreme restriction formation. The saints were tempted. The more they thought about it, the more delighted they became. They were well aware of the value of grasping such a supreme restriction formation. "Kneel!" Fong Lingsu snorted coldly. He extended his withered and old hand and pressed down on Lin Sun from a distance. It was like a divine mountain moving horizontally, trying to force Lin Sun to kneel on the ground. "Scram!" Lin Sun shouted. Endless starlight surged from the sea, steaming and rolling, covering the sky. There was a huge tremor, and there were continuous booms in front of Lin Sun. Terrifying powers collided with each other. If he was not under the protection of the restriction formation waves, he would definitely be pressed to the ground. "Fellow Taoist Fong, you're so violent. What if you accidentally kill this ant? I don't wish for this child to die like this. Although his life is lowly, the good fortune he possesses is very precious." Saint Floating Tooth spoke faintly in the air. His figure was blurry and illusory, as if he didn't exist in this world, but his words were undoubtedly filled with disdain. Lin Sun was so angry that he couldn't help sneering. "What kind of **T saint are they? I think they are just a bunch of old beasts who should be hacked into pieces. Ants will always be ants. They don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." The group of sages remained indifferent and unmoved. Boom! Saint Yumming made his move. He pressed his fingers together and pointed in the air. All of a sudden, a wisp of finger energy was condensed and filled with the power of the divine way. It rushed towards Lin Sun's eyebrows like a finger piercing through the sky. Rumble! A terrifying scene occurred. The Star Chess C's restriction power was unable to withstand it and was easily broken by the finger force. Lin Sun didn't hesitate and took out the wordless pagoda to block in front of him. The body of the pagoda flowed with golden brilliance, looking magnificent and brilliant. In the end, although the finger force was blocked, Lin Sun suffered from the impact. The qi and blood in his body churned, and he almost coughed up blood. He sighed in his heart. He could only borrow less than 1/1000th of the heavenly cycle stars formation's power at most. It was destined that he couldn't fight against the power of 6 sages. Moreover, these sages were extremely cunning. They didn't enter the Star Chess Sea at all. As such, even if Lin Sun wanted to use the formation to counterattack, he wouldn't be able to do so. At the end of the day, he had overestimated the bottom line of those ancient orthodoxies. As a result, he made a wrong judgment. He didn't expect that they would send out 6 sages just to deal with him. It's that pagoda. The eyes of the sages on the coast lit up. Oh, impressive! It is indeed made of the divine metal of fortune. Even in ancient times it would be a top-notch treasure. Its value is immeasurable. Good, good, good. This trip will be worthwhile. Fong Lingsu and the others were pleasantly surprised. They ignored Lin Sun and focused all their attention on the treasures and fortunes in Lin Sun's hands. This was undoubtedly a great contempt. In the eyes of the sages, even though Lin Sun had become the first on the list of minor giants, he was far less important than the treasures and fortunes in Lin Sun's hands. Don't delay any further. Let's attack together and suppress this lad. Saint Miao Hua's eyes were burning. He couldn't wait any longer. He was afraid that a long delay would lead to trouble. He wanted to end Lin Sun's life immediately. Boom! In that instant all the sages took action. Across the vast star-chess sea, huge hands fell down and pressed Lin Sun down. The power of the heavenly cycle stars formation roared. Terrifying waves of starlight emerged, splitting the void and resisting the huge hands. Puff! In just an instant, Lin Sun was shaken to the point where he coughed up blood. His body almost exploded on the spot. Even though the heavenly cycle stars formation was extraordinary, it couldn't withstand the attacks of 6 sages. Even with the defense of the wordless pagoda, Lin Sun was still heavily injured. Swish! Lin Sun turned into a stream of light and rushed toward the depths of the star-chess sea. However, his struggle was destined to be futile. In just the blink of an eye, his path forward was cut off, leaving Lin Sun with no way to retreat. On the coast, the sages were very calm. Their expressions were indifferent. They weren't afraid that Lin Sun would escape at all because they had already locked onto him. Even further away, the experts who were watching the battle in the dark side. The disparity in strength was too great. Demon God Lin was destined to be in trouble. Once the sages appeared, who in the entire ancient desolation region could compete with them? If he doesn't rise, he's destined to only be brilliant for a while and then fall, someone said to himself. It's a pity. With this lad's aptitude, he's destined to have an extraordinary cultivation path if he can wait for the great era to come. However, he's going to die here. Heaven is jealous of his talent, someone sighed. In this world where there are many orthodoxies, it's difficult to rise alone like this, someone sighed. Alu was not taken away by the slovenly old Taoist. Instead, he was hiding in the dark. When he saw this scene, he was immediately enraged and shouted, "Old bastard, that's my big brother. Are you going to save him or not?" The sloppy old man slapped Alu on the head and said, "Acknowledge him as your big brother? Did you get my permission? Good for nothing. Stop glaring at me. Let me tell you, just watch the show this time." Alu was enraged like a raging bull, and he didn't listen to advice at all. However, no matter how he struggled, he was unable to take a single step forward. He was restrained there, and couldn't even speak a single word. It was obvious that the slovenly old Taoist was well aware of the power of Alu's mouth. He immediately sealed Alu's mouth. "What's going on?" "According to my deduction, the undying forbidden land behind the sea of stars shouldn't just watch as this child is killed. Moreover, this child is able to use the great heavenly cycle star formation, so it should be related to that old madman from back then. Why hasn't the situation turned for the better yet?" The sloppy old Taoist frowned, and he quickly deduced in his heart. The current situation was so dangerous that even he could not understand it. Boom! The battle was still going on. A huge hand came pressing down from the sky. It was Saint Miao Hua. His snow-white palm was surrounded by the divine flame of heaven, and he sent Lin Sun flying, coughing up blood. Even ants want to live. "Young man, why struggle so hard? I'm not afraid to tell you that if we wanted to kill you, we wouldn't have to put in so much effort. The reason for this is nothing more than to make you bow your head and hand over your good fortune to atone for your sins. Although Saint Miao Hua was beautiful and dignified, she was more ruthless and arrogant than the other saints. Her words were full of contempt, and she was trampling on Lin Sun's dignity. Suppress! Saint Dao Kuan shouted, and he slapped down with his palm. The restrictive force was destroyed, and the wordless pagoda was shaken back. When Lin Sun was about to be completely suppressed, a suet jade bottle suddenly appeared in his palm, and the mouth of the bottle spewed out blazing rays of light. Boom! Like a landslide and a tsunami, the void was in disorder in an instant. But with this blow, Lin Sun managed to defeat the suppression in a dangerous way, and also made Saint Dao Kuan suffer a great impact, causing his body to shake violently. What? Everyone was taken aback. This change was very sudden. How could an ant have the ability to fight back against a saint? But immediately, the eyes of the 6 saints became brighter and more fiery. It's that suet jade bottle? What a miraculous holy treasure! Looking at it from afar, the power contained in this bottle is so magical that it even makes my heart tremble. They all saw that Lin Sun's previous blow came from the suet jade bottle in his hand. This was undoubtedly also a holy treasure. Everyone, I don't want anything else, just this suet jade bottle. Fang Lingsu's voice was filled with a trace of rare excitement. Everyone was able to discern that this bottle was extremely miraculous and priceless. Relying on this treasure to allow an ant to escape danger and survive was absolutely inconceivable. Let's rely on our own means. As he spoke, Saint Yumming had already attacked, and the strength was obviously more terrible than before. At the same time, the others also attacked, and no one dared to be careless. Some people suppressed Lin Sun, trying to learn the mystery of the cosmic star's formation from him. Some people went to rob the wordless pagoda. And some people were fighting for the great way immeasurable bottle. This put Lin Sun in a life-and-death situation. The power of one saint was already so horrible that he couldn't resist it, let alone the suppression of 6 saints. Bang! Lin Sun was seriously injured. His body was sent flying, and his blood dyed his body red. His bones were broken, and his skin was full of cracks. This kind of injury was extremely serious. Seeing this, the overmatches who were watching the battle in secret all became nervous. They realized that this battle without suspense was about to come to an end. No matter how outstanding Demon Lin was, he was as vulnerable as an ant under the power of the saints. He was destined to be killed, and the price he had to pay for this was the treasures and good fortune he had. To everyone's surprise, Lin Sun still refused to bow his head even when he was seriously injured and dying. He was bathed in blood, and his black eyes were surging with endless flames of anger. He said intermittently in a hoarse voice, "You old bastards! Today's humiliation, I, Lin Sun, will return it to you 10 times in the future." His voice, full of endless hatred, shook the world. There was a moment of silence, and then the 6 saints all sneered. Fang Lingsu even said indifferently, "You have no way to live. How can you have a chance to take revenge in the future? Let me tell you, no matter who comes today, no one is bound to be able to save you." Really? An ethereal whisper, not loud, suddenly resounded in all directions and stirred the 9 heavens and 10 earths. In the void, there were divine rainbows and auspicious lights descending at an unknown time. P.S. The woman in the heaven accessing place is going to take action. Please come here and ignite the war. Chapter 1108. Strands of divine radiance and auspicious light had suddenly descended from the sky, and they scattered through space and illuminated the world. At this moment, everyone on the coast felt an inexplicable pressure. The eyelids of Fang Lingsu, Dao Kun, Miao Hua, Xue Tu, Yu Ming, and Fu Ye twitched as they squinted their eyes. As saints, they were naturally able to sense that something strange was happening in an instant. There were many saints among those who were watching the battle in secret. At this moment, they were all shocked and looked at the star chess sea. The world seemed to be silent at this moment. Who's playing tricks here? Fong Lingsu shouted with a murderous look on his face. Haha, which friend wants to intervene in this matter? Do you think we don't exist? Or do you want to fight against us for the good fortune in Lin Sun's hands? Dao Kun, Miao Hua, and the others' faces turned cold. They thought it was the saints of other orthodoxies who came to intervene in this matter, which annoyed them. In the sky, strands of divine radiance were like divine chains of order. They were crystalline, translucent, resplendent, and magnificent, and they converged ceaselessly in the sky. The atmosphere between heaven and earth became more and more oppressive, making it hard for people to breathe. Humph! I don't care who you are. Whoever dares to stop me today, I'll kill him, Xue Tu said coldly. As a saint, he stood at the top of the world and could do whatever he wanted. Once he had the intention to kill, almost no one could stop him. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. A terrifying bloody storm appeared out of thin air, emitting the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling. It shrouded Lin Sun like the gate to hell. Chi. At this moment, a divine rainbow that looked like a chain of order swept over. It was too fast. It penetrated the bloody storm in an instant, then broke the void and arrived in front of Xue Tu. Xue Tu roared. As he opened his mouth, bloody ripples gathered, filled with the power of the saint. It was a kind of sound wave secret method that could shatter the space and the universe. However, this was useless. The rainbow arrived and pierced through the bloody ripples. Then, it landed on the blood-slaughtering saint. Bang! With a terrible roar, Xue Tu flew out and smashed into the mountains in the distance, crushing countless rocks and ice. Everyone was stunned and looked into the distance. Smoke and dust rose into the sky, accompanied by Xue Tu's painful scream. Everyone was shocked by this scene. The mountain ridge was smashed apart. A saint was actually sent flying with a single strike. He crashed into a large mountain range, causing the earth to crack and the void to collapse. This was undoubtedly too terrifying. The sound of people gasping could be heard. What did I just see? A high and mighty saint who can look down on the world has been sent flying? Some people still didn't believe it, their minds a bit muddled. The experts watching in secret felt their mouths go dry, feeling that this was inconceivable. This type of scene was just too shocking. In the depths of the star chess sea, Lin Sun stood bathed in blood. He had long black hair and cold black eyes. He did not feel surprised and was very calm. Boom! Terrifying power of the divine path surged from Fong Lingsu and the others, shaking the universe. The previous scene caused their hearts to tremble, and they realized that it was extremely likely that an extremely powerful opponent had arrived. They did not dare to be negligent anymore. May I ask which fellow Taoist has graced us with your presence? Fong Lingsu's voice rumbled through the heavens and the earth. An unparalleled sword intent surged out from his body, intimidating everyone and shaking the stars. When they were dealing with Lin Sun just now, they did not use their true strength at all. They were worried that they would accidentally kill Lin Sun and lose the opportunity. But now, when they realized that a formidable enemy had arrived, they were all awestruck and began to show the true power of the Saint realm. No matter who he is, I want him dead. Boom! In the mountains far away, a huge figure stood up, shaking off the mountains that were pressing down on him. He stood tall, his eyes like two scarlet blood moons, extremely terrifying. It was the bloody butcher saint who had been defeated earlier. However, he had become completely different at this moment. With a monstrous killing intent, he strode over, shaking the heavens and the earth violently and causing the void to collapse inch by inch. The experts watching in secret were all awestruck and retreated one after another. Some of the weaker ones were trembling under the pressure of this astonishing saint might, almost kneeling on the ground. This was a kind of uncontrollable reverence that originated from instinct. The might of a saint could intimidate the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. Once cultivators below the saint realm encountered him, they would not be able to resist at all and would be completely intimidated. However, such a high and mighty saint had been sent flying with a single blow just now. It was hard to believe just thinking about it. Do you dare to show yourself and fight? The bloody butcher saint was enraged, his voice reverberating in all directions. It was as if there was rolling thunder in the sky, shattering the clouds. Some people screamed and fell to the ground while covering their ears. Some people were so shaken that they bled from their orifices and saw stars. This level of saint might was truly terrifying. Countless years have passed and the world has indeed changed. You are just a group of false saints, yet you dare to be so lawless. I am truly surprised. A cold and eerie sigh resounded between the heavens and the earth. Auspicious rays of light descended from the sky and intersected with each other. A graceful and hazy figure gradually gathered and was about to appear. False saints. Many people at the scene shuddered. Who dared to say such words and call Fong Lingsu and the others false saints? Yet, her words were spoken in such a matter-of-fact manner. Arrogant. The Saint Tao is like the heavens, how dare you make thoughtless remarks? Fong Lingsu's expression was cold. The entire void was filled with terrifying saint might. Within a radius of 10,000 miles, rocks exploded, the earth cracked, and everything showed signs of destruction. The expressions of the other saints were also unkind. They had stepped into the saint plane and were definitely not nobodies. They had long surpassed the path of immortality and stepped onto the path of holiness. However, the tone of the voice just now was filled with disdain. There really is a turning point? Old B** starred, do you know what a false saint is? In the dark, Alu was stunned and opened his eyes wide. With a slap, he suffered another slap on his head. The sloppy old priest scolded, "Stop talking nonsense and watch the show." As he spoke, he was not calm. He seemed to have noticed something and also found it hard to believe. Boom! In the void above the star chess sea, there was a sudden rumble, and auspicious light and rain poured down. It was as if they were worshipping the descent of a supreme god. The phenomenon was brilliant. In the end, the graceful and hazy figure completely condensed. She gave off a holy and transcendent aura that soared into the sky. She stood there casually, but she gave off an aura that looked down on the heavens and earth, making all living things in the world bow down to her. This was undoubtedly a shocking and terrifying phenomenon. What did it mean to be above all living things and stand proudly above the heavens? That was it. The sages present were all people who had seen great things, but when they saw this figure, they could not help but be shocked and feel an indescribable pressure. Who was this person? Why had they not seen her in the entire ancient desolation region? It was not only Fong Lingsu and the other 5 sages. At that moment, the sages in the dark were also shocked and bewildered. That aura was extremely holy and supreme, causing them to feel a heavy pressure. Boom! The heavens and earth shook, as if they were trembling because of the appearance of the graceful figure. All directions were suppressed. "Thank you, Senior," Lin Sun bowed, feeling rather excited. Back then, the mysterious woman had given him 3 chances to ask for help. This was already the 2nd time. If he had not been forced into a corner, he would definitely not have asked for help. "You have already surprised me by being able to contend for so long with your own strength. Now you can just watch the battle from the side." The woman's voice was chilly while her body seemed to be coiled with numerous clear and dazzling divine chains of order. There was a rain of ascension that rained down, blazing divine radiance enshrouded, and all sorts of flowing lights that were boundlessly dazzling. It caused others to be utterly unable to see her appearance clearly. "Humph, you are too arrogant. What do you think the 6 of us are to you?" Fong Lingsu's voice was sonorous. The sword essence around him was surging, reflecting the spectacle of thousands of swords flying into the sky. At the same time, he was secretly shocked. From what the mysterious woman said, she was actually related to Lin Sun, the little bastard, and was not here to snatch the opportunity. This was unexpected. How about treating us like bastards? From afar, the woman's voice was cold and casual. One sentence shocked everyone. To treat the 6 sages as bastards, this was too scary. Fang Lingsu and the others were furious. Before, they were about to succeed, but because of the appearance of this woman, they failed. They were already annoyed. Now that they were being humiliated like this, who could tolerate it anymore? Let's do it! Xuetu shouted. The saber in his hand soared into the sky, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. It was as if the door to hell had been opened and he slashed over. The power of a saint is like the sky, and it cannot be violated. Fellow cultivator, you have crossed the line. At the same time, Miao Hua, Yu Ming, Fu Ye, and the other sages attacked together. In an instant, the world was intertwined with the light of the way, and the scene was extremely shocking. The 6 sages attacked together, using the true power of the saint to suppress and kill the mysterious woman. This scene was too terrifying. Among the experts watching the battle in secret, only the sages could withstand the pressure released by such a battle. The eyes of the others were stinging, and they were unable to observe at all. Swoosh! At the same time, on the star chess sea, the woman also took action. Crystalline and divine rays of order floated up into appearance around her, and they interweaved together and coiled around her. It was like a world had appeared, and numerous terrifying scenes floated within them. The sun rose and set, the passage of time, the cycle of the universe changing. Vaguely, there were even the sounds of gods and Buddhas chanting, and the sounds of ancestors offering sacrifices rumbled out, as if they were worshipping. Bang! She pressed her hand lightly, and Fang Lingsu's sword qi shattered in midair, turning into a rain of light and dissipating. At the same time, a sparkling divine rainbow of order shot out and wrapped around the blood-slaughtering saint's saber. With a crack, the saber was broken. The blood-slaughtering saint screamed. His body swayed, and he almost coughed up blood. On the other side, Saint Dao Kun formed seals with his fingers and slapped the divine rainbow of order that was charging at him. Poof! In the end, his palm was penetrated in an instant, and even his arm was pierced. His flesh exploded, and his entire right arm was destroyed. This scene shocked everyone. Whoosh! The golden rope from Saint Miao Hua's hand was like a giant golden dragon, and it surged with terrifying Saint Dao laws. It took this opportunity to approach the woman. However, the woman stretched out her hand and pinched lightly with her fingers, as if she was picking up a flower petal. She firmly clamped the golden rope, and it was as if she had hit the weak spot of a snake. Following that, the golden ropes exploded inch by inch amidst a series of explosions. A golden rain of light dyed the sky golden. It caused the woman's graceful figure to seem like a supreme god. Chapter 1109. Saint Miao Hua screamed. Her treasure was destroyed, causing her to bleed. The sages who were watching the battle in the dark widened their eyes, and their hearts trembled. Boom! Saint Floating Tooth executed a type of soul secret technique that was shapeless and immaterial, and it was extremely bizarre. Once struck by it, even a saint would suffer a heavy injury. However, before this power could even get close, the mysterious woman's eyes suddenly shot out a pair of symbols that looked like they were formed by order and destroyed the attack. Puff! Saint Floating Ya coughed up blood and his figure wriggled in the void. At the same time, with a clang, a bronze bell was slapped away. Saint Yumming staggered and took a few steps back. Everyone was dead silent. On the star chess ocean, a graceful and hazy figure's clothes fluttered in the wind. This was the mysterious woman in the heaven-reaching secret realm. As soon as she made a move, she displayed her peerless elegance. In the blink of an eye, she broke through the encirclement of the sages and injured them. So many sages attacked, but they couldn't even shake her? Who is that woman? In the dark, countless pairs of eyes were filled with undisguised shock. It was only the first exchange of blows, yet such a devastating scene had appeared. Who wouldn't be shocked and fearful? Who was she? In the distance, the woman stood proudly in the void, as if she was aloof from the world. She was as bright as the moon. Rays of divine rainbows were like divine chains of order that circled around her body, creating a grand and mysterious phenomenon. Every ray of divine rainbows was like the order of the great path. It was as if they could evolve into a world that contained boundless mysteries. Vaguely, there was the sound of gods and Buddhas praising her and all living beings worshipping her. Merely this supreme scene was capable of shocking the ages and astounding the universe. On the coast, Fong Lingsu and the other sages had uncertain expressions. Who were they? They were the famous sages who stood at the peak of cultivation in the ancient Desolation region. Yet, they suffered such a setback and were injured in the first exchange. For people like them, this was unprecedented. It was a humiliation that they hadn't experienced in a long time. Because they hadn't been injured in a long time. The world has truly declined. Even if it is a false saint, the difference between them and those fellas from the ancient times is too great. The woman's voice was clear and cold. She released a faint sigh, as if she was a bit melancholic. Who are you, fellow Taoist? How dare you speak such big words? Fong Lingsu's face was gloomy and his heart was filled with anger. Being called a fake saint made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Who am I? The woman muttered to herself. After a while, she said, You are not qualified to know. In one sentence, he looked down on the world. Those were 6 saints, but they didn't even have the right to know her name. What kind of pride and conceit was this? The experts who were secretly watching the battle almost thought they had heard wrong. Ha ha ha, arrogant! Do you think we can't do anything to you? Xue Tu laughed loudly. His eyes were like blood moons and were awe-inspiring. Everyone, it's time to use your true trump card. Otherwise, I'm afraid others will think that we're easy to bully. The woman's voice was cold as she said, So what if I bully you? No matter who comes here today, it will be difficult for them to leave this place. Ha, where do you think this is? No one has ever dared to act against us sects like this. Even someone as powerful as you will fall if you try to defy the heavens. Fong Lingsu's words were like swords, clanging and overflowing with killing intent. If these are your last words, then there's no need to waste any more time. Let's end this. The woman was very calm, but the meaning in her words was chilling. Was she's going to kill a saint? Even Lin Sun was shocked. He had asked for help from the mysterious woman just to escape. After all, those were 6 saints. They were extremely terrifying and stood at the top of the world. Who could kill them? But now, the mysterious woman showed such a domineering attitude and looked down on the saints. How could Lin Sun remain calm? Only then did he realize that he had underestimated the power of this mysterious woman from the beginning. Kill. Saint Yumming was very straightforward. He suddenly took out the longevity hall. In an instant, the bronze hall exploded with unprecedented power. As it swept across the sky, it caused the sky to collapse and the surroundings to shake. Countless rocks and plants were instantly turned into powder. The scene was extremely terrifying. The longevity hall was obviously much more powerful than when it was used by the old monster of the King Realm. Only a saint might be able to fully activate the true power of such a sacred treasure. Boom! The longevity hall glowed and the earth cracked. Smoke and dust swept into the sky, dispersing the clouds and moving across the star-chess ocean towards the mysterious woman. The attack was obviously many times more powerful than before. One must know that the heavenly cycle stars formation could be set up in the star-chess ocean. But now it was almost unable to stop the treasure. The longevity hall of the pure land of longevity. It's a pity that its owner was a hero and overlord in ancient times. But now, he has fallen to the point where he is controlled by a fake saint. A cold voice drifted in the air. The mysterious woman stretched out her hand and clapped lightly. Dong! The mountainous longevity hall seemed to have been struck by lightning. It shook violently and buzzed. Its entire body released chaotic energy, and there was even auspicious light surging. Many mysterious diagrams appeared on the surface of the ancient bronze palace. There were plants, insects, fish, immortal birds, divine beasts, the sun, moon, and stars, and others. It displayed an extraordinary might that was completely different from before. But no matter how powerful it was buzzing and shaking from the slap. She used her hand to hit the sacred treasure. The sound of the impact shocked the saints in the dark. They were dumbfounded and realized how terrifying this mysterious woman was. "Everyone, when are you going to make your move?" Saint Yumming roared. He was also shocked. This was the Longevity Hall, the treasure of the pure land of longevity. If it was used, it would at least multiply his battle prowess. But now it was still hit by the mysterious woman with a raise of her hand. Clang! The heaven-connecting sword swept out. Fong Lingsu seemed to have turned into a real invincible sword saint. His sword will surged, stirring up the wind and clouds as he attacked. Almost at the same time, Miao Hua took out the heaven-suppressing seal, Dao Kuan took out the purple-green treasured umbrella, Xue Tu took out the blood prison seal, and Fu Ye took out the golden jade archive rumble. 6 sacred treasures and 6 saints attacked with all their might. A sacred battle had begun and completely erupted. In an instant the sky fell and the earth cracked. In the void there were signs of collapse and destruction everywhere. Dazzling divine light of the divine path was everywhere. The scene was extremely shocking. This was indeed a battle between the gods in the truest sense of the word. It was boundlessly brilliant, and it was sufficient to shake the world and shake the world. Heavens! Retreat! In the dark, the experts watching the battle changed their expressions immediately and retreated. The area within a radius of 10,000 li was filled with a terrifying saint aura. Once affected, even a saint would be in a difficult situation. As for those below the saint level, there was absolutely no chance of survival. Fortunately, this was in the Star Chess Sea, a forbidden ground. If it happened in the outside world, it would definitely cause immeasurable destruction and disaster. Rumble! The saints attacked. They no longer held back and used the strongest magical abilities they had in their lives. Near the Star Chess Sea, the sky and earth were turned upside down. The seawater flowed, showing a scene of great destruction. If not for the heavenly cycle star formation, this place would have been destroyed. "I've been silent for too long. No one knows who I am," the mysterious woman seemed to be unfazed. She took a step forward and the stars moved. Thousands of divine chains of order swept out and bound the Longevity Hall, freezing it in the void. Boom! At the same time, she raised her hand, and another divine rainbow swept out. It was crystal clear and arrived before Xue Tu Saint again. "Suppress!" Xue Tu Saint roared. The blood prison seal howled and turned into a crimson purgatory. It covered the sky and earth, as if it was going to refine the universe. However, the divine rainbow was extremely sharp and terrifying. It seemed to be able to break through everything. It rushed into the crimson purgatory and pierced through everything in its way. Rumble! Before the divine rainbow, the crimson purgatory was torn apart like a painting. Then, the divine rainbow swept out like a divine chain and bound the blood prison seal. At the end of the divine rainbow, there was a sharp battle spear that pierced through Xue Tu Saint's body and pinned him in the air. It was too fast. Everything happened too quickly. The battle had just started. Even someone as powerful as Xue Tu Saint's saint-level cultivation was like a piece of paper. His protective power was penetrated, and he was pinned in the void like a fly pinned to a wall. He could not move at all. Only his lips let out an extremely shrill cry of pain. This shocked everyone. It was too sudden. Whoosh! Another divine rainbow chain flashed out. It was crystalline, translucent, and flowed with a divine glow as it charged into space. Suddenly, it restrained the heaven suppression ruler that descended from the sky. Whoosh! At the same time, the mysterious woman's figure disappeared. When she reappeared, she was already before Saint Miao Hua. She raised her hand and pressed down lightly. Miao Hua didn't even have time to dodge. His entire body was forced to kneel on the ground. Every inch of his bones and tendons exploded, and he was limp like mud. However, at this moment the amethyst-jeweled rainbow umbrella, the golden jade archive, and the through heaven sword arrived. The mysterious woman had nowhere to hide. However, she was still not flustered. She seemed unusually calm and collected. Only tens of thousands of divine rainbows spread out around her. They danced like divine chains of order, and they flowed with a power that terrified even the heavens and earth. Bang! The amethyst-jeweled rainbow umbrella wailed, and was firmly imprisoned. Clang, 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 the through heaven sword slashed crazily. Every strike was powerful enough to cut down the sun, moon, and stars. However, it couldn't damage the divine rainbows at all. There were only sounds of collisions and splashes of light. In the end, the through heaven sword was imprisoned as well, and it wailed incessantly. The strangest thing was the golden jade archive. It suddenly transformed into a golden mist. It passed through the obstruction of the tens of thousands of divine rainbows and enveloped the mysterious woman. So it's this treasure. It actually still exists in the world. A trace of surprise appeared in the mysterious woman's eyes. After that, she let out a strange cry that sounded like the cry of a phoenix. Instantly, the golden mist stopped moving. In the blink of an eye, it actually transformed into a dazzling and strange divine bird. It spread its wings in the sky while surging golden light flowed out from its body. It dyed the heavens and the earth golden. The mysterious woman stretched out her hand. The golden divine bird instantly stood up obediently and let out a joyful cry. This incomparably miraculous scene shocked everyone present. P.S. The fourth update is here. I can tell everyone that this climax isn't so simple. The mysterious woman has finally made an appearance, so how could she leave so hastily? Besides that, I'll break the fifth update tomorrow. The time will be the same as before. The first update will be released at midnight, and the goldfish will wait for the first update after eating. Chapter 11:10. The bloody slaughtering saint, who had dominated the ancient desolation realm for thousands of years and controlled the blood prison seal, still had his body pierced through. He was pinned in the air like a fly. The ruthless and decisive Saint Miao Hua, a female saint, didn't even have time to react before she was suppressed and fell to the ground. Other than that, the immortal hall, the heavenly sword, the purple-green treasured umbrella, and the heaven-suppressing ruler were all sealed the moment they revealed their boundless divine might. These scenes were like viewing flowers on horseback, yet they really happened in the blink of an eye, so how could they not be shocked? How could they not be shocked? The saints who were watching the battle from afar gasped. Their hearts trembled and their expressions changed. This was indeed inconceivable and shocking. All of them were saints that stood proudly at the peak of the world. They presided over an area and received the worship of all living beings. After experiencing the passage of time, they'd experienced the tempering of countless battles, and they were absolutely worthy of being overlords of the world. However, in front of the mysterious woman, it was extremely pathetic. Not long after the battle broke out, the saints were crushed like a hot knife through butter. On the other hand, from the beginning until the end, the mysterious woman hadn't been injured, nor had she retreated. Her movements were casual, yet they revealed a supreme might that caused others to feel horrified. Her clothes fluttered as she stood there by herself. The divine rays of light around her were like divine chains of order that coiled around her, illuminated the world, and was peerlessly otherworldly. At the center of her palm, a golden immortal bird was combing its wings and letting out clear cries of joy. Its body flowed with a golden sheen, and it caused the mysterious woman to seem dreamlike. Impossible. That's the true spirit jade archive of my vast Sea Dao sect. Why would it submit to you? In the distance, Saint Floating Tooth's face was gloomy and filled with disbelief. Didn't Song Mingzi tell you who forged this treasure? The mysterious woman's voice was chilly, ethereal, and indistinct. Song Mingzi. He was the founder of the Azure Sea Dao sect and a mighty figure in the ancient era. His name could be said to have shaken the world. How could Fu Ye not know Song Mingzi, a saint who came from the vast Sea Dao sect? It was precisely because he knew that he was apprehensive. This woman, who exactly is she? She seemed to know some secrets that no one else knew? The other sages were also bewildered. Who exactly was this woman who dared to mention Song Mingzi so casually? What are you talking about? Kill her. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving. In the distance, Fong Lingsu shouted. Boom. The Connect Heaven sword shone and actually broke free from the restraints of the divine rainbow. It slashed towards the mysterious woman. Kill! Fuya also made his move. He couldn't allow the true spirit jade archive to be stolen. False saints are false saints in the end. No matter if it's the ancient times or the current era, they are destined to be different from true saints. It's a pity that you all still refuse to realize your errors. The mysterious woman tossed the golden flying beast away with her fair hand, and then she swiftly turned around. Her slender and graceful figure seemed to have instantly filled the world, and she'd become boundlessly tall. Whoosh! A divine rainbow shot out and bound the heaven-piercing sword again. The mysterious woman used the divine rainbow as a guide to guide the heavenly sword sect. She swung the heavenly sword sect's treasure, and the sword light flashed, sweeping in all directions. Puff! Fong Lingsu lost an arm. This shocked him so much that his soul almost flew out of his body. Who would have thought that the sacred treasure of his sect would be used in such a way and almost cost him his life? Rumble! The immortal hall was also freed. It was controlled by Saint Yumming to attack through the sky. The immortal hall emitted a bronze divine radiance that transformed into waves of strange energy. Everywhere it passed, chaotic chi pervaded the air, and it was incomparably majestic and terrifying. Bang! Rays of divine rainbow shot out from the mysterious woman's body, and they were sparkling and brilliant like the burning sun. They covered the sky and covered the earth as they ruthlessly whipped the immortal hall. The immortal hall, which was as large as a mountain, was directly whipped away. It smashed through the void and emitted a deafening rumble. Saint Yumming suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and cried out in pain. He'd suffered a backlash. Kill! At the same time, Fu Ye also attacked. His figure was blurry, as if it was void. He was unbelievably fast, and he'd already arrived behind the mysterious woman. Unfortunately, this was destined to be futile. A divine rainbow had unknowingly swept across the sky, and it wrapped around his waist, firmly confining him there. His palm was only a foot away from pressing on the mysterious woman's back, but it was this little bit of distance that he couldn't reach no matter how hard he tried. Break for me! Fu Ye roared angrily. His saintly might was terrifying, but no matter how much strength he used, the divine rainbow was unshakable. Instead, his body was being wrapped tighter and tighter. Kacha kacha! Then, Fu Ye's bones and tendons were broken, and sounds of explosions could be heard. Blood spurted out of his mouth and nose, and he screamed miserably. A saint actually seemed so powerless at this moment. From the beginning to the end, the mysterious woman didn't even turn around, as if she didn't know that Fu Ye was suffering endless pain behind her. In the distance, the saints who were watching the battle felt their hearts go cold. They realized that this woman was very likely a great saint. No, she was very likely a saint king. Otherwise, how could she defeat 6 saints with just a wave of her hand? Her casual and relaxed appearance was enough to frighten any saint realm cultivator. Whoosh! At this moment, Fong Lingsu chose to escape without hesitation. He couldn't beat her at all. The opponent's power was completely at a level of absolute suppression. Even a saint treasure couldn't shake her, so how could he fight? When he thought about how he'd come here with such a large force, only to be defeated so miserably, Fong Lingsu felt like crying. Who said that saints were fearless? They just hadn't encountered an existence that was stronger than them. Just like Fong Lingsu at this moment, he didn't have the arrogance and conceit he had before, and he didn't have the strength of a saint realm cultivator at all. Instead, he was panicking like a stray dog. You can't beat her, so you want to escape? You really have no backbone. When the mysterious woman spoke, every single word was like the mantra of the Grand Tao, and every single word seemed to be covered in a layer of energy. When she finished speaking, this expanse of the heavens and the earth seemed to have transformed into a cage of the Grand Tao. Bang! Fong Lingsu, who just teleported to escape, was still halfway when the space exploded, causing his body to fall out in a sorry state. On the other hand, Saint Yuming, who'd originally intended to flee when he saw Fong Lingsu flee, tried to teleport, but he noticed to his shock that the energy of space in this expanse of the heavens and the earth was completely sealed. Instantly, Fong Lingsu and Yu Ming's faces turned ashen. At this moment, Xue Tu was nailed in the sky, Miao Hua was limp like mud, Fu Ye was trapped by the waist, Fong Lingsu's right arm was severed, and Yu Ming had nowhere to run. Everything happened in almost an instant. From the beginning to the end, the mysterious woman didn't exert any shocking power. She was just dealing with every move casually and calmly, which made her seem even more unfathomable and peerless. As for Dao Kuan, he stood there in a daze. He didn't attack, nor did he flee. He was dumbstruck like a clay statue, and his mind was awed. The scenes that happened before were too shocking. Even as a saint, Dao Kuan could only feel an unprecedented fear. He hadn't felt this kind of fear for a long time, and the saints who were watching the battle from afar felt cold all over at this moment. Previously, they all thought that Lin Sun would definitely die. After all, it was 6 saints attacking, so who could compete with them? But the appearance of the mysterious woman turned everything around. She looked down upon the saints as if they were nothing, and she was unstoppable and invincible as she swept through the battlefield. Her supreme bearing was simply like that of a god. Who was she? This doubt arose in everyone's mind once again, and every time it brought them endless shock and terror. In the distance, Lin Sun's blood boiled as he watched. He'd seen all the scenes of the previous battle, and his heart was churning. What did it mean to suppress all saints? That was it. The extraordinary bearing of the mysterious woman made Lin Sun yearn for it. When could he also possess such power? If that day really came, who in the ancient desolation dared to treat him like before? Power. Lin Sun repeated these 2 words in his heart, and his black eyes were firm and bright. He knew that as long as he stuck to the path of cultivation and kept going, sooner or later, he would also be able to stand above the world and look down upon all the heroes like this. The battlefield was silent, and the battle had come to an end. Everyone knew that if they continued to fight, the result would be doomed. Fong Lingsu and other saints looked gloomy. For the first time, they found that a young man whom they regarded as a nonentity had caused such great trouble, which could be called a great disaster. But it was too late to say anything now, but as saints, they had their pride and confidence, and they were unwilling to bow their heads. Fellow Taoist, we admit that we are not as good as you, but aren't you worried that today's matter will cause many orthodoxies to participate in the battle? Fong Lingsu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Do you dare to fight?" The calm voice of the mysterious woman resounded between heaven and earth. How can a group of false saints be qualified to represent an orthodoxy? If there is a war, I will fight with you to the end. Everyone's heart trembled. This woman was alone, but from her words, it seemed that she was not afraid of any orthodoxy in the world at all. No one dared to answer her words, because it was very likely to cause a real war between orthodoxies, and it was very likely to shake the foundation of orthodoxy. It's already despicable for a king to intervene in a fight between juniors. Now, even a saint disregards his face and intervenes. Don't you feel ashamed? The mysterious woman was surrounded by dreamy divine rainbows, and her bearing was peerless, as if she stood aloof from the world. Although her words were calm, there was a touch of coldness in them, which frightened all the people present. We are here just to take back the sacred treasure of our sect, and we don't intend to hurt anyone. Fong Lingsu took another deep breath and said slowly, "What's more, this man has killed so many people of our orthodoxy. It's not wrong for us to punish him, is it?" Crack! The mysterious woman raised her hand and pointed. Fong Lingsu seemed as if he was struck by lightning, and countless bones within his body broke. It hurt to the point he let out muffled groans and almost fell down from the sky. A saint was unable to resist at all. If news of this were to spread, who would dare believe it? Yet now it had happened right before his eyes. All of you bullied the weak and intended to seize the treasure in this kid's possession. Since you've done it, yet you still dare to deny it? Is it wrong for me to punish all of you? The mysterious woman's voice was chilly, and it became even more terrifying. Not to mention that I spared your lives. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Her words were spoken casually, yet when it entered the ears of everyone present, it was like a thunderclap that struck directly at their hearts, and it seemed as if monstrous killing intent assaulted their faces. Everyone present was horrified. Chapter 11:11. There was dead silence, and only the cold voice of the mysterious woman was floating in the air. Fong Lingsu, Yumming and other sages looked gloomier and gloomier, feeling depressed and humiliated. As a sage, they had not appeared in the world for a long time. Once they appeared, they would attract the attention of the world. This was supposed to be an action that would attract the attention of the world. Never had they thought that they would suffer a bad start, die prematurely, and be reduced to such a situation. Such a shame happened to them, and their reputation would be ruined. How would the world think of them in the future? Thinking about it, Fong Lingsu and others were so depressed that they almost coughed up blood. Taoism Peer, are you going to let it go? Yumming asked in a low voice. Of course. The mysterious woman answered casually. It's just a fight between the younger generation, but you bullied me like this. This time, I will give you an eye for an eye. Otherwise, do you really think that you can bully him at will because he has no one to rely on? As soon as these words came out, the sages watching the battle in the distance were all shocked. Retribution really came. In the past, all the orthodoxies regarded Lin Sun as a rootless duckweed. Even though he was talented and outstanding, no orthodoxies took him seriously. It was the same in the West Hung boundary. It was the same in the Dongxing boundary. Looking at those orthodoxies that wanted to kill Lin Sun, which one of them had restrained and feared when suppressing Lin Sun? No. What was the reason? It was because they thought that Lin Sun had no one to rely on, and that he was alone and could be slaughtered at will. Now, the mysterious woman's strong appearance was bound to prove Lin Sun's reputation, and those orthodoxies that had targeted and suppressed Lin Sun would not sit still. Do you really intend to become enemies with our orthodoxies? Don't you think it's a bit too much? Fong Lingsu and others were shocked and angry. Too much? If I really wanted to go too far, I would have already killed you. Why should I spare your lives? The mysterious woman's words were very cold. Speaking of this, her voice was suddenly filled with an invisible power, which spread to the whole area. From now on, I will visit each orthodoxy one by one. I will go to whichever orthodoxy that has offended Lin Sun. Isn't it bullying the young? I will too. At this moment, her figure was graceful, and her breath penetrated the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Her voice was like the sound of the great way, surging and spreading. Was he going to announce to the world that he was standing up for demon god Lin? Everyone was shocked. It was obvious that from this day forth, fiend god Lin was no longer a rootless duckweed. Standing behind him was a woman with incredible means. Anyone who dared to touch him would have to consider the consequences. This change was bound to shake the world. After all, Lin Sun was regarded as a rogue practitioner without any sect before. He rose to the world alone. Although dazzling, he caused constant disturbances. But in the blink of an eye, a supreme figure had appeared behind him. This background wasn't just frightening, it was enough to make even the ancient orthodoxies unable to sit still. In the distance, Lin Sun's heart was boiling hot. He had an unprecedented shock, but more than that, he was moved. Ever since he had entered the ancient desolation realm, he had been through bloodshed and slaughters, and had tasted dangers and hardship. Even though he had escaped from danger every time, he had also experienced moments of helplessness and anger. When being chased, he could only run. Every time he fled, he would carry with him unwillingness, anger, and humiliation. In the eyes of others, he had escaped from danger time and time again. His rise was dazzling, but who knew what he had paid for it? If he had an absolutely powerful deterrent force, who would choose to flee? Who would dare to chase after him again and again? Unfortunately, Lin Sun was a man after all. In this vast ancient desolation realm, if he wanted to rise, he could only endure and grow stronger, waiting for the day when he could take revenge. If he hadn't experienced it himself, he would never be able to understand this feeling. Now, the mysterious woman had appeared out of nowhere. Not only did she help him resolve the crisis of life and death, but she also stood up for him and announced it to the world. How could Lin Sun not be moved? Quietly, Lin Sun clenched his fists and controlled his inner emotions. He knew that the mysterious woman was doing this to help him remove the shackles that were blocking his path, so that he could participate in the battle of the world more fairly and seize the opportunity to reach the peak of the King realm. "Senior, I won't let you down," Lin Sun murmured in his heart. His heart became extremely firm at this moment. What do you want to do?" At the same time, Fang Lingsu and the others changed their expressions abruptly. They almost couldn't believe their ears. To visit their orthodoxies one by one? Obviously, she didn't come with good intentions. "Didn't you hear me clearly?" the mysterious woman said. "Then I'll say it again, bully the weak." Every word made the world shake, the mountains and rivers tremble. As soon as she finished speaking, the mysterious woman no longer hesitated. She waved her sleeves, and rays of bright divine rainbows rushed out and rushed to the 6 sages respectively. Bang! Under everyone's shocked gazes, Fang Lingsu, the sage, was turned into a sheep in the blink of an eye. "Ba ba!" Fang Lingsu roared in horror, but he could only make the sound of a sheep. His 4 hooves were in disorder, and his cultivation of the Saint Tao was completely restrained. It looked very funny. But the sages who were watching from afar were so shocked that they felt cold all over. God, what kind of method was this? How could she turn a sage into a beast? Even Lin Sun was stunned and almost couldn't believe his eyes. This kind of method could absolutely be regarded as the creation of the world and turn the rotten into the magical. No! Seeing this, Sage Yumming was greatly frightened. Turning into a sheep? He absolutely couldn't accept it. He would rather die than be turned into a beast. But before he could struggle, a divine rainbow swept over and enveloped him. Then, with a bang, he also turned into a sheep, bleating and waving his 4 hooves as if he was having a seizure. The sages who were watching from afar were completely dumbfounded. Earlier, the mysterious woman had said that she regarded Fang Lingsu and the others as beasts. Who would have thought that her words would come true at this moment? "How dare you?" Sage Dao Kuan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He struggled crazily, but it was all in vain. Then, he was also turned into a sheep. Then, Saint Miaohua, who was paralyzed on the ground, and Saint Fuya, who was tied by the waist, also turned into sheep. The most ridiculous one was Saint Miaohua. When she woke up from the coma, she opened her mouth to scream, but found that she was bleeding like a sheep. She immediately broke down and banged her head on the ground, trying to kill herself. But the result made her feel desperate and powerless. The horns were too hard, and a pit was dug out on the ground, but her body was unharmed. She couldn't even kill herself. Fortunately, Saint Blood Slaughter, who was nailed in the void, was not turned into a sheep. He was directly beaten back to his original form, a black tengu, but his body was the same size as a native dog. Except for his black and soft fur, he was no different from an ordinary native dog. So far, 5 of the 6 sages turned into sheep, and 1 was beaten back to his original form, a black dog. Looking from a distance, it seemed absurd and bizarre. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have believed that these 5 sheep and 1 dog were the 6 sages who once stood proudly on the top of the world. The sages who were watching the battle in secret were completely dumbfounded. Such a means was unheard of, unseen, and completely beyond their imagination. It was to the point that their gazes towards the mysterious woman carried an indescribable fear. Ha 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 ha! Alu finally couldn't hold back his laughter. He laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. He had been worried about Lin Sun's safety and was furious like a mad bull. But as he watched the battle, he found that the situation had been reversed, which made him ecstatic. At that time, he secretly sighed that Lin Sun deserved to be his big brother. Even his backer was so domineering. Until now, when he saw the funny scene of the sages turning into animals, he was overjoyed. Crack! But the good times didn't last long. Alu was slapped on the forehead. The sloppy old Taoist gritted his teeth and transmitted his voice. "Little bastard, what are you laughing at? Is this something you can laugh at? Shut up. If you cause trouble, I won't wipe your ass for you." As he said, he smiled apologetically and cupped his hands towards the distance. "Ignorant boy, please don't blame me for not knowing the magic of stealing sky for changing Sunday." The mysterious woman glanced at him and said, "Do you know this method?" The sloppy old Taoist hurriedly shook his head. "I've only heard of it, but I haven't really seen it. After all, it's one of the 9 ancient taboos." "Well, it's all my speculation. Please don't laugh at me and don't misunderstand me." His eyes flickered and his smile was so fake that even Alu could see that the old bastard didn't dare to recognize it, which was very hypocritical. The weirdest thing was that his hypocrisy was very blatant. "I won't misunderstand you, and you'd better not make me misunderstand you." The mysterious woman's voice was clear and cold, with a power that could reach people's hearts. "That's the best." The sloppy old Taoist hurriedly agreed. Seeing this scene, many sages who were watching in secret were all awestruck. They realized that the sloppy old Taoist was also an extraordinary person. "Lin Sun, come here." The mysterious woman waved her hand. In an instant, Lin Sun's figure seemed to be teleported and came to the woman. "Senior." Lin Sun bowed and saluted. Even at such a close distance, Lin Sun still couldn't see the woman's appearance clearly. She was surrounded by crystal-clear divine rainbows like divine chains of order. She was so holy and transcendent that no one could see her face at all. But her charm could be called peerless. Although they were very close, Lin Sun had the illusion that she was far away and unreachable, just like the bright moon in the sky, which could only be looked up to but could not be touched. "Would you like to herd sheep with me?" the mysterious woman asked. Herding sheep? Lin Sun was stunned at first, and then he suddenly realized that this was not herding sheep, but herding saints. "Yes." He agreed without hesitation, and his heart was full of excitement. Throughout the ages, who dared to turn saints into livestock and herd them? This method could be said to be extraordinary. This courage was enough to shock the world. When the sages who had been turned into sheep and black dogs heard this, they were so shocked that they started to cry out crazily. The sound of bleating and barking rang out incessantly between heaven and earth, as if they were suffering from epilepsy and rabid dog diseases. Chapter 11-12. Saint Mu. The saints who were watching in the dark gasped. A chill surged from their spines to the top of their heads, and their entire bodies emitted cold air as if they were in an ice cave. Originally, it was already humiliating enough for the saints to be turned into animals. But now, that woman intended to worship the saints as if she was herding livestock. This was simply trampling on the dignity of these saints to the limit. Even if they survived in the future, they were bound to be discredited and unable to raise their heads. Who exactly was she? The saints who were watching in the dark felt even more fearful. It was also at this moment that they suddenly noticed that the mysterious woman in the distance had suddenly turned around and swept her gaze over, causing the bodies of these saints to stiffen. Today, I announce to the world that if anyone dares to bully the weak, I don't mind making a trip to your orthodoxies. Her voice was cold and terrifying, causing the expressions of those saints to be uncertain. But if it's a competition between the same generation, I will absolutely not interfere. Her following words caused everyone to be stunned, and then they immediately understood. This woman couldn't be bothered to care about the competition between the younger generation, but if anyone dared to use the name of an ancient orthodoxy and disregard their status to target Lin Sun, then she would definitely pay a visit personally and take revenge. If such a terrifying woman wanted to take revenge, no matter which orthodoxy it was, they would probably have to carefully consider the severe consequences that might arise. Let's go. The mysterious woman took a step forward, causing the mountains and earth to tremble, the wind and clouds to change, auspicious light and divine rays to gush out, and it produced a magnificent and grand scene. When her foot landed, a golden divine ray had already spread out beneath her feet, piercing through the sky and spreading towards the depths of the boundless void. In a daze, everyone seemed to have seen that as the woman moved forward, there were true dragons soaring in the sky, immortal phoenixes circling in the sky, and black tortoises opening the way. Rays of auspicious light fluttered and flowed like a divine rain of light, as if they were protecting and escorting the woman. This scene was like the legendary empress on a journey. Even a saint king probably can't possess such saintly might, right? The hearts of the saints who were watching from afar shook. This rare and almost legendary spectacle made them feel extremely amazed and shocked. In an instant, the woman's figure vanished, and only expanses of divine light flickered and covered the sky like a dream. Lin Sun, a flock of sheep, and a dog disappeared with the woman. Obviously, she had really gone to St. Mu. The world returned to silence, and the shore of the Star-Chess Sea regained its usual calm. However, all the saints who were watching fell silent and did not speak for a long time. They were trying to digest everything they had seen today. The appearance of the 6 saints had already shaken the world. But now, these 6 saints were in trouble and were being herded like livestock. If this scene was spread out, it would definitely shake the entire ancient desolation realm. From today on, who in the world dares to treat Lin Sun as before? Indeed, Lin Sun is talented and has amazing potential. Now he has such a big mountain to rely on. His rise is destined to be unstoppable. I'm just curious, who exactly is that woman? These saints from different orthodoxies were discussing. The battle just now had given them a huge shock. It could be foreseen that this matter couldn't be concealed at all, and it would inevitably cause a great commotion. Old bastard, let's go take a look as well. Alu's face was full of expectation, herding sheep and a flock of sacred sheep. This scene will definitely be very exciting and rarely seen. The slovenly old Taoist sighed with a complicated expression. It's better not to get involved in this matter. That woman's background is not simple. I thought she had already. Who would have thought? Alas, it's better not to say it. Alu was confused and could not help stamping his feet. Old bastard, what the hell are you trying to say? Crack. The slovenly old Taoist slapped Alu's forehead and scolded. Why are you in such a hurry? Do you want to know the secret? Let's talk about it after you reach the peak of the King realm. As he spoke, he grabbed Alu, turned around, and left through the void. Old bastard, what are you going to do? I'm not going back to the village. I'm going to find my big brother, Alu shouted. But no matter how he shouted, he was still taken away. At the shore of the Star-Chess Sea, people left one after another. The area was full of people, and finally, peace was restored. Almost immediately, the news spread and shook the entire ancient Desolation realm. Among the sages watching the battle, there was a sage from the Wind Whisperer clan. It was hard for the news to not spread quickly. In the 4 great worlds of the ancient Desolation realm, wherever there was a message tree, it caused a huge commotion. When the 6 sages went out, everyone thought that demon god Lin would definitely die. Who would have thought that such a shocking turn of events would happen? My God! Who is that mysterious woman? How could she suppress all the sages? Everyone was in an uproar, and no area could calm down. Because this battle involved the battle of the Saint State, it was hard not to attract attention. Worshipping the sages, this is unbelievable. When some of the ancient orthodoxies received the news, they were shocked. Quick, find out more information. No matter what, we have to find out who that mysterious woman is. Some people were anxious. Since when did this demon god Lin have such a backer? Could it be an old antique from some Saint Hermit grounds? All kinds of discussions, guesses, and analyses were happening in different places. The whole world was in a turbulent state. Long before the storm swept the world, the mysterious woman and Lin Sun had already herded a flock of sheep and a black dog to a majestic ancient spirit mountain. Their speed was indeed fast. For Lin Sun, it was only a dozen breaths, but they had already teleported thousands of miles away. Lin Sun couldn't help but yearn for this kind of great void shift, using only his own cultivation, without the help of the ancient transmission formation. This is the Black Nightmare Mountain, the birthplace of the Black Nightmare Tengu tribe. There are not many tribes that I hate, but this tribe is one of them, the mysterious woman said casually. Woof, woof. In front of them, the black dog transformed by the bloody massacre Saint barked anxiously. His eyes were full of shame and indignation. But when the mysterious woman looked over, the black dog shivered and whimpered, crawling on the ground and shivering. Lin Sun was in a trance. Was she still a sage? She was so embarrassed even as a dog. We have to hurry up. The woman seemed to have sensed something. She suddenly raised her head and looked at the sky. At this moment, Lin Sun keenly sensed that there was an indescribable chill coming from the woman, as if there was something in the depths of the sky that she hated and rejected. Boom! Before Lin Sun could figure it out, the woman stretched out her hand and patted the void. A boundlessly terrifying blood-red grand formation suddenly surged out from the surroundings of the nearby lofty mountain, and it intended to block this palm strike from afar. But in the blink of an eye, a hole appeared in the formation, and a rain of light scattered about. Lin Sun gasped. If he was right, the formation defending the Black Nightmare Mountain should be a holy formation. Although it was not as terrifying as the Heavenly Cycle Stars formation, it could also be called marvelous. But now it had been smashed by a palm. Who? Which madman dares to make trouble in my tribe? You're courting death. Along with the explosion of the formation, the scene on Black Nightmare Mountain changed abruptly. Numerous densely packed ancient buildings appeared on the mountain, and they were arranged in an orderly manner that seemed to stretch endlessly. At this moment, a group of cultivators charged out with a murderous aura, and all of them were extremely shocked and furious. They seemed to have never imagined that there would be someone in the world that dared to come to the residence of their Black Nightmare Dog clan and cause trouble. But when they saw a man, a woman, a flock of sheep, and a black dog standing outside the entrance, all of these cultivators were extremely astounded. This scene was too strange. Did they come to Black Nightmare Mountain to herd sheep? And they even brought along a shepherd dog. Wait. But when they took a closer look at the black dog, all of these cultivators were stunned. This isn't a fucking shepherd dog. It's obviously one of their clansmen. In an instant their expressions became extremely unsightly, and the gazes they shot at Lin Sun and the mysterious woman carried dense, killing intent. However, when the mysterious woman casually glanced at them, the bodies of these murderous Black Sea Tengu clan experts stiffened. Their souls were in intense pain, and their vision darkened. After that, all of them tumbled to the ground and fainted without exception. They didn't even have the time to let out a shrill cry. A trace of pity flashed in Lin Sun's eyes. These black dog bastards were probably used to being arrogant, and they were bound to be utterly unable to imagine how terrifying the existence before them was. "Is it very boring?" asked the mysterious woman. Lin Sun shook his head and said with a smile, "No, it's very satisfying." The mysterious woman said, "But I'm not. If I want to bully the weak, then I have to find some fellows with some weight to bully." She gazed towards the depths of Black Nightmare Mountain and said, "Let's go in." As she spoke, she'd already driven a flock of sheep and a dog forward. She was clearly aware that this was the residence of the Black Nightmare Dog Clan, and it was comparable to the headquarters of an ancient orthodoxy. But the mysterious woman treated it as if it didn't exist and entered as she pleased. Her imperceptible boldness caused Lin Sun's blood to boil. Boom! As the mysterious woman moved forward, even though the power of the Black Nightmare Mountain's Prohibition formation was fully activated, it collapsed inch by inch like a piece of paper, unable to obstruct her at all. In the process, the experts of the Black Nightmare Dog Clan kept rushing out, densely packed like a tide. But before they could even get close, they all fell to the ground one by one. Not a single one of them could remain standing, and it was even more impossible for anyone to obstruct them. Lin Sun was shocked once again. If he also possessed such extraordinary cultivation, where couldn't he go in this vast world? Even if it was a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, he could walk on it as if it was flat ground. The Black Nightmare Mountain was extremely large and towering. The spiritual energy on the mountain was dense, and mist curled upwards. Spiritual springs, waterfalls, and exotic plants could be seen everywhere. It was completely the atmosphere of an immortal paradise. But as the mysterious woman and Lin Sun entered, the original peace and tranquility of the Black Nightmare Dog Clan's residence was broken, and it became completely turbulent and chaotic. Chapter 11-13 Black Nightmare Mountain, within a majestic hall. A woman was sobbing softly as she complained to an old man in the lead. The woman was Go Yenjin's mother. The old man was the Black Nightmare Tengu clan's leader, Go Yanghai. He was a terrifying existence who had stepped into the longevity ninth tribulation realm and was just a step away from the sage realm. Clan leader, you watched Yenjin grow up. Now that he died by the Star Chess Ocean, I hate him so much. Go Yanghai said unhappily, Lord Bloody Slaughter has already attacked. That little bastard Lin Sun will definitely be killed. Isn't that enough to make you feel better? Truthfully speaking, when he heard the news of Go Yenjin's death, it caused him to be extremely furious as well. Go Yenjin was a peerless genius of their clan, and Go Yenjin was a peerless genius that had an extremely high chance of stepping foot into the king realm in this world. But now, he had been killed. But the Star Chess Ocean is enveloped by a supreme restriction. If that little bastard is hiding in there, Lord Bloody Slaughter will. The woman was unwilling. However, before she could finish, Go Yanghai interrupted her with a frown. How dare you? Are you doubting Lord Bloody Slaughter's strength? The Sage Realm is like the heavens. How can you estimate it? The woman's body trembled. She was frightened. Go Yanghai's tone softened. Don't worry. It's not just Lord Bloody Slaughter this time. There are 5 other sages attacking together. That little bastard Lin Sun has no chance of survival. Boom. At this moment, a violent explosion came from the foot of the mountain. The entire Black Nightmare Mountain shook, and the hall was affected. Instantly, the tables, chairs, decorations, teacups, and other utensils in the hall shook, falling to the ground and shattering. What happened? Go Yanghai stood up, his expression darkening. Two terrifying beams of blood light shot out from his eyes. Clan leader, it's bad. Someone has attacked our Black Nightmare Mountain. An expert outside the hall shouted in panic. How dare they? Do you know which orthodoxy it is? They must be tired of living. Go Yanghai was furious. Their Black Nightmare Tengu clan was spread throughout the ancient Desolation region. They were powerful, and they were the only ones invading others. When had they ever been attacked? Even the ancient orthodoxies did not dare to do this. There's only a man and a woman. Oh right, there's also a herd of sheep. The expert reported. A flock of sheep? Go Yanghai was caught off guard and almost couldn't believe his ears. Is it a strong man of the Qingyang bloodline? No, they are just a group of ordinary beasts. The expert was also dumbfounded and did not know how to explain. I don't care who he is. Since he dares to come to my Black Nightmare Mountain and behave atrociously, he can forget about leaving alive no matter who he is. Go Yanghai's face was cold, and his killing intent surged as he walked out of the hall. Boom! The Black Nightmare Mountain was shaking violently. The mountain rocks collapsed, the ancient trees exploded, and the spiritual spring water stopped flowing. Waves of miserable cries rang out. The mysterious woman paced about with an extraordinary bearing. Sparkling and translucent divine rainbows lingered around her. In front of her, there was a flock of sheep and a dog. It looked as if they were herding cattle in the mountains. But as she moved forward, the Black Sea Tengu clan's experts that charged towards her fell to the ground as if they had been struck by lightning before they could even get close to her. The mysterious woman didn't even spare him a glance, and her graceful figure continued to ascend the mountain. Lin soon followed them and saw this scene with his eyes. He felt very happy in his heart. When he was in the West Hing boundary, he was chased by the Black Sea Tengu clan. Even when he reached the Dongxing boundary, they still didn't give up and targeted him like ghosts. But now everything was reversed. He was brought along and directly ascended the gate of the Black Sea Tengu clan. They advanced as if they were entering an uninhabited land. They were truly unstoppable. Who are you? How dare you? Don't you know that this is the territory of the Black Sea Tengu clan? In the distance, a strong man who had stepped into the king realm shouted. But when his gaze fell on the mysterious woman, it was as if he was struck by lightning. He was so shocked that his soul almost flew out of his body. You are. Saint, before he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his soul, and he fell to the ground softly. Behind this king realm, there were more than 10 strong men following. When they saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. Then, they all fell to the ground with a thud. The mysterious woman seemed to be walking forward step by step, but in reality, every step she took seemed to shrink the ground into an inch. Her speed was extremely fast. When she reached halfway up the mountain, the path behind her was already filled with bodies. Most of them didn't even have time to react before they fainted from the shock. There were also some who died on the spot, their blood staining the mountain. The reason was that they had spoken rudely and insulted her, causing them to lose their lives. The ground was a mess, and it was extremely terrifying. Oh my God, run! In the distance, the strong men of the Black Sea Tengu clan who saw this scene were scared out of their wit. They turned and fled up the mountain. They had all seen clearly that there was no way for them to fight back. The difference was too great. A bunch of trash, back off! Suddenly, Go Yanghai's incomparably majestic voice rang out, reverberating throughout the Black Sea Mountain. At the same time, the mysterious woman stepped on the mountain path and appeared at the peak of the mountain. The peak of the Black Sea Mountain was extremely flat and spacious. Ancient buildings stood in great numbers, the sea of clouds steamed, and spiritual clouds curled up. It was like an otherworldly pure land. A ray of light shone on the mysterious woman's body, giving her a dreamy aura. Sage. With just a glance, Go Yanghai, who had been raging with rage, calmed down completely as if someone had poured a bucket of cold water over him. He couldn't help but look shocked and solemn. Sage. These two words made the restless and panicked strong men of the Black Sea Tengu clan freeze on the spot, their bodies stiff. The surroundings were deathly silent. All eyes fell on the same place. A man, a woman, a flock of sheep, and a black dog. This scene was bizarre and absurd no matter how one looked at it. Even Go Yanghai felt dizzy. A sage had come to kill them, but brought a flock of sheep and a dog. It was strange no matter how one looked at it. "It's you, you little bastard!" Suddenly, a scream sounded. A woman stared at Lin Sun, who was beside the mysterious woman, with hatred, as if she wanted to bite him. Go Yanghai's heart skipped a beat. He recognized Lin Sun as well. He had been shocked by the mysterious woman earlier, so he didn't immediately recognize who the young man was. This lad wasn't dead. Didn't this mean that Lord Bloody Slaughter was heading to the Sea of Stars? Thinking of this, Go Yanghai's heart trembled. His expression was uncertain, and he found it hard to believe. "Clan leader! Kill him! Kill him to avenge my son!" The woman's scream caused Go Yanghai's expression to change slightly. He suddenly struck out and knocked the woman unconscious. This was purely a subconscious action. He knew that the consequences of shouting in front of a sage were too severe. After so many years, the Black Sea Mountain is still the same. "It's filthy and smelly," the mysterious woman spoke. The mysterious woman spoke. She casually sized up the surroundings and seemed a bit disappointed. Her voice was calm, but it was like the sonorous voice of the great Tao. It emitted a supreme majesty that shrouded the world, causing everyone present to tense up and feel an indescribable pressure. "May I know why you've come?" Go Yanghai took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice, ignoring the disgust in the mysterious woman's words. However, at that moment an extremely old voice sounded. "Yanghai, you may step down. I can only receive a sage personally." Along with the voice, a skinny old man in a black robe with a face full of wrinkles appeared out of thin air and entered the field. "Lord Bloody Star!" Go Yanghai and the other Black Sea dogs present were all refreshed. The depression and panic in their hearts were swept away. Bloody Star Sage was an old monster who had been in closed-door training for nearly 8,000 years. For Go Yanghai and the others, he was definitely a pillar who could make them feel at ease. "Fellow Taoist, why did you drive a flock of sheep here?" Bloody Star Sage's voice was old as he looked at the mysterious woman calmly. As for Lin Sun, he was directly ignored by him. "First, I want to help this lad vent his anger. Second, I want to make a deal with you," the mysterious woman said casually. Only then did Bloody Star Sage look at Lin Sun. At that moment, Lin Sun felt an unprecedented pressure. Even his divine soul was trembling. It was as if a mere gaze was enough to kill him. "If your eyes are not good, I can help you take them out. It's useless to keep them anyway." As soon as the mysterious woman said this, Lin Sun felt the pressure and discomfort all over his body disappear. At the same time, Bloody Star Sage also withdrew his gaze and said with a smile, "Don't joke around, Taoism friend. I'm just curious why someone like you would not hesitate to kill your way into my Black Nightmare Mountain for a junior. It's very simple. You bullied the young, so I had no choice but to come personally," the mysterious woman said casually. Bloody Star Sage was stunned. Seeing this, Go Yanghai quickly explained through voice transmission. In an instant, Bloody Star Sage's expression changed slightly. With a terrifying divine light surging in his eyes, he said, "Taoism friend, may I know what happened at the shore of the Star Chess Sea?" The mysterious woman said, "You will naturally know after this deal is done." As she spoke, she raised her hand and pointed at the black dog that was crawling with its head buried in the ground, looking so ashamed that it wanted to find a hole to hide in. She said, "I'll sell this dog's life to you." This black dog was none other than the blood-slaughtered saint. The Black Nightmare Mountain was his lair, and now, he, a saint, was being chased to his own clan and was even being sold to his own clansmen. This was undoubtedly too humiliating. He was so ashamed that he wanted to die and was about to go crazy. If I'm not mistaken, this is a member of my clan, Bloody Star Sage said with a frown. Never mind, there's no need to say more. How do you intend to carry out this deal? 10 segments of ancestral root divine bamboo will do, the mysterious woman said. Ancestral root divine bamboo. Everyone's expression changed drastically. This was the supreme treasure of their Black Nightmare lineage. It was a unique divine material in the world. In the entire world, only their clan's ancestral root ground could nurture such a divine material. Moreover, ancestral root divine bamboo could only grow one segment every 3,000 years. The production was extremely limited. If they sold it, it would not even be enough for their own clan. The mysterious woman asked for 10 segments of ancestral root divine bamboo. It was clearly an exorbitant demand. Chapter 11:14. Everyone was indignant, thinking that the mysterious woman was demanding an exorbitant price. She obviously thought that their clan was easy to bully. The black dog on the ground, except for its smooth black fur, looked extremely cowardly. It had been crawling on the ground since it appeared, wishing it could stuff its head into a crack in the ground. How could such a good-for-nothing be worth 10 sections of ancestral divine bamboo? If the bloody massacre saint on the ground knew what they were thinking, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood. Good for nothing? This was simply unbearable. Fellow practitioner, our Black Demon Dog clan has tens of thousands of descendants. Don't you think it's a bit too much to ask for 10 sections of ancestral divine bamboo from one of us? The Blood Star Saint said slowly. Although he was extremely old and looked like he had 1 foot in the grave, there was an invisible majesty about him. So, you think this dog is not worth the price? The mysterious woman asked. No, not at all, the Blood Star Saint said. At most, it's worth 3 sections of ancestral divine bamboo, and that's for your sake. Otherwise, before he finished his words, his meaning had been made clear. Even so, the other strong practitioners of the Black Demon Dog clan still looked gloomy. Many of their clansmen were injured along the way, and now they had to be extorted by the other party. It was so frustrating. Lin Sun almost burst out laughing with a weird expression. If this old guy knew the identity of this dog, he would probably slap his own face. In that case, I won't sell this dog, the mysterious woman said. Woof, woof. At this time, the bloody massacre saint, who had turned into a black dog, raised his head and barked at the Blood Star Saint, looking extremely angry. How dare you? How dare you be so rude to me? Go Yanghai, who had been holding back his anger for a long time, kicked at the dog without hesitation. Bang! The black dog flew backward and smashed on a rock more than 30 meters away. Smoke and dust filled the air, looking extremely embarrassed. Lin Sun was stunned and almost gave Go Yanghai a thumbs up. He deserved to be the patriarch of the Black Demon Dog clan. He kicked a saint away. Woof, 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 woof. The black dog rushed out as if it had gone mad. Its howls grew louder and louder as if it had gone mad again. Go Yanghai's face turned ashen when he saw that this fellow was so stupid. Just as he was about to teach him a lesson, the Blood Star Saint seemed to have noticed something and cried out, "Stop!" An explosive shout was like muffled thunder that shook the heavens and the earth, and it shook Go Yanghai to the point he staggered and almost fell to the ground. The others were also terrified, their expressions changing greatly, not understanding what was going on. You are Xuetu? Xue Xing's eyes shot out a terrifying divine light as he stared at the barking black dog. At this moment, Lin Sun clearly saw that there were traces of tears in Black Dog's eyes. He didn't know whether it was tears of joy or something else. The entire place was silent. Everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at the black dog on the ground, wondering if they had heard wrongly. Lord Blood Butcher? This black dog, how could it be Lord Xuetu? This was especially true for Go Yanghai. He had just given the black dog a hard kick and was planning to teach it a lesson. Who would have thought that such a reversal would occur? All of a sudden, his face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Lin Sun couldn't help but laugh. The scene in front of him was so interesting that it could be recalled many times. In the end, the Blood Star Saint confirmed this fact. His face suddenly became extremely gloomy and cold. His eyes locked on the mysterious woman like lightning. "Fellow practitioner, are you here to humiliate the Dark Nightmare tribe?" The others were also furious and felt extremely humiliated. A saint was being ordered around and sold like a dog. Who could tolerate this? The mysterious woman said calmly, "Humiliate? Not really. It's just a punishment for him. If you are not satisfied, you can have a fight with me." Her casual words revealed an indescribable domineering aura that made heaven and earth tremble as if they were bowing down to her. Those who were below the saint realm felt a buzzing sound in their heads and saw stars. They felt so oppressed that they almost suffocated. At this moment, the mysterious woman seemed to have turned into a dominator. Her supreme momentum made the Blood Star Saint's face change. "Woof! Woof!" The black dog barked again, seeming extremely anxious. The Blood Star Saint communicated with it through his divine soul. No one knew what the two said, but the Blood Star Saint's expression changed. When he raised his head to look at the mysterious woman again, his eyes were filled with deep shock and disbelief. Lin Sun could roughly guess that the Blood Star Saint had probably already learned about what happened at the Star Chess Sea. "All right, let's do as you say." In the end, the Blood Star Saint took a deep breath and made a decision. He immediately ordered someone to bring a wooden box. 10 sections of bamboo were neatly placed in the box. This bamboo was completely jade white and snow white, and the surface of every single segment was actually branded with strange markings of the Tao. Moreover, there were strands of lightning that seemed like hairs flowing through it, and it emanated extremely dense vitality. This was the divine bamboo that was nurtured in the Dark Nightmare Dog tribe's ancestral land. It would only grow one section every 3,000 years. It was a divine material that could only be found by luck. The mysterious woman glanced at it and ordered Lin Sun to accept it. The Blood Star Saint felt a pang in his heart. 10 sections of ancestral source divine bamboo was equivalent to 30,000 years of savings flying away. "Are you satisfied now?" the Blood Star Saint said in a low voice. "Almost." The mysterious woman nodded. She then glanced at everyone present and said, "This time, I'm just here to visit. If there's another incident where I bully the weak, it won't be as simple as just a visit." This was a silent threat. Everyone could hear it, but the Blood Star Sage eventually suppressed his killing intent and said, "If that's the case, can you let him go now?" In the end, the mysterious woman left the Blood Star Saint and left with Lin Sun with a flock of sheep. When they came, they broke through the mountain gate and entered an unstoppable place, forcing the Blood Star Saint to bow his head. When they left, no one dared to stop them. No one dared to stop them. This style was an eye-opener for Lin Sun. If they had such means, even if they were alone and had no one to rely on, no one would dare to bully them. "Sir, why did you agree to his request? Can't our tribe keep a Blood Star Saint here?" After a long time, Go Yanghai gnashed his teeth and said, "Today's incident could be said to be an extremely heavy blow to their entire race, and it was an extraordinary humiliation. Did you notice that flock of sheep?" the Blood Star Saint asked expressionlessly. Go Yanghai was stunned. He had a bad premonition and said, "Could it be, yes, that's the Blood Star Saint of the other 5 orthodoxies. If this woman wants to kill people, how many people do you think will survive this time?" the Blood Star Saint said coldly. Go Yanghai felt cold all over. The more he thought about it, the more frightened he became. "Yanghai, as the patriarch, you don't even have this little insight. No wonder your cultivation has been stuck in the 9 calamities of longevity realm, and you can't step into the saint realm." On the other side, the Blood Star Saint, who had recovered, said coldly. Go Yanghai's scalp was numb. He didn't dare to look at the Blood Star Saint's eyes. Just now, he had kicked the Blood Star Saint away, although it was unintentional. If the Blood Star Saint looked into it, the consequences would not be good. But should I just let it go? Go Yang Hai felt aggrieved. Of course not, the Blood Star Saint said without hesitation. His old face was cold, and his scarlet eyes burst out a terrible bloody light. No matter who it is, whoever dares to humiliate my clan must pay 10 times, or even 100 times the price. He took a deep breath and ordered, investigate. No matter what price we have to pay, we must find out the details and origin of this woman. Even if we can't take revenge now, we will do it in the future. Even though his words were extremely ruthless, everyone was able to discern that it was bound to be impossible for them to immediately take revenge before they figured out the background of that mysterious woman. This made them feel even more upset. This treasure should be called Calamity Divine Bamboo. It grows in destruction and goes through a tribulation every 3,000 years. Each time, it can obtain a thunder spiritual liquid from the thunder tribulation. This liquid can not only bring the dead back to life, but also has immeasurable benefits for cultivation. It can be regarded as a real spiritual medicine. A bright golden ray of light stretched out and penetrated through the boundless space. The mysterious woman stood on it, and she was guiding Lin Sun and telling him about the origins of the ancestral root, divine bamboo. Lin Sun finally understood the value of the 10 pieces of thunder bamboo in his hand. No matter how serious the injury was, as long as he took the thunder spiritual liquid in the bamboo tube, he could instantly recover to his peak state. Moreover, it could also temper the Taoist root, nourish the soul, purify the mind, and so on. It was absolutely not an exaggeration to say that this treasure was a rare treasure of heaven and earth. I didn't expect the Black Sea Dog clan to have such a magical bamboo, Lin Sun thought. Do you want to uproot this bamboo? The mysterious woman asked suddenly. Lin Sun shook his head and said, No, not for the time being. So you plan to do so in the future. The mysterious woman said, However, I advise you not to think about this treasure before you become a great sage. Great sage? Lin Sun was shocked. Yes, there are real and fake sages in this world, and there are different levels on the road of true sage. The mysterious woman nodded and pointed out to Lin Sun. There were 2 kinds of fake sages. The first kind was when they reached the King Realm, they had to use the Tao Seed to build the foundation of King Realm because they couldn't build the Tao Seed of Self. This kind of people also had the Tao Seed, and could understand the way of longevity and pass the tribulation of longevity. But because the Tao Seed didn't belong to them, becoming a sage was already the end of their road. The simplest way to judge this kind of fake sage was to see if they could condense the law of divine Tao. If they didn't have the law of divine Tao, they were the most inferior existence in the sage realm. Of course, this kind of inferior was for the sage realm. For the practitioners below the sage realm, even this kind of fake sage was an existence that they could only look up to. It was not an exaggeration to say that the sage realm was like the sky. P.S. The goldfish broke out for 2 days in a row, and tomorrow it wants to break out again. Do you support it? If you do, throw your monthly votes. Chapter 11:15. In short, the first kind of pseudo-holiness had been determined from the moment he became a king. This was the difference between the original Tao Seed and the fake Tao Seed. The original Tao Seed gathered the cultivation of the practitioner. The higher the quality, the farther, stronger and higher he could go on the road of immortality. The fake Tao Seed belonged to an external force, which was to match one's own cultivation with the Tao Seed that didn't belong to oneself. In cultivation, the power that didn't belong to oneself was an external force after all, and the fake Tao Seed was the same. The second kind of pseudo-holiness was different. According to the mysterious woman, those who stepped into the saint realm in the world could be called pseudo-holiness as long as they followed the established path of cultivation. This kind of sage could also comprehend the law of divine Tao and seek the way of holiness. But because they followed the path of cultivation that people had walked in the past, their achievements were doomed. However, the mysterious woman also said that in the eyes of the world's practitioners, the second kind of pseudo-holiness was already a true sage. They mastered the power completely different from the first kind of pseudo-holiness and could comprehend the law of divine Tao. This was the difference of vision. In the eyes of people like the mysterious woman, although there were differences between the first kind of pseudo-holiness and the second kind of pseudo-holiness, they were doomed to have limited achievements after all. But in the eyes of others, they were destined not to think so. A sage without a sage is a true sage, and the Tao without Tao is the great way. Lin Sun suddenly murmured, thinking of a strange experience in the past. There was an ice and snow tree in the mulberry forest of the bloodthirsty battlefield, on which there was a golden cicada and a white cicada. Both of them were terrible existences who had stepped into the saint realm. By chance, Lin Sun once had a strange chat with the golden cicada, and the cicada had said this at that time. "Hey, who told you this?" The mysterious woman was stunned and seemed to be a little surprised. Lin Sun didn't hide it and told her the experience of chatting with the golden cicada. Golden cicada. The mysterious woman seemed to think of something and fell into silence. This is a madman whose stubbornness is admirable. Back then, he made a sacred wish that one day, all living things in the world could become saints. The mysterious woman seemed to sigh with emotion, and her chilly voice carried a trace of reminiscence. Everyone knows that it's impossible, but this madman has always been searching for it. Forget it, I won't talk about it. She shook her head, as if she didn't want to wallow in her memories. It was as if she couldn't bear to recall them. Lin Sun originally wanted to ask about the origin of the golden cicada, but when he saw this, he immediately held back, knowing that he wouldn't get an answer even if he asked. However, he's right. A saint without a saint is a true saint, and a Taoless Tao is a grand Tao. A true saint has to establish an unprecedented path towards the Tao. At this point, the mysterious woman sighed and said, "This requirement is too harsh. Since ancient times, most of the people who have stepped into the saint realm have never been able to open their own path of divinity. Most of the peerless sages I know have died here too, unable to take the next step. It's simply too difficult. Have you ever set foot on this path?" Lin Sun couldn't help asking. The mysterious woman was startled, and she said after a while, "You can say that. You'll naturally understand when you step into the saint realm." Next, she briefly explained the saint realm. Above the saint realm was the great saint, which meant great and immeasurable. Above the great saint was the king of saint, also regarded as the king of saint. As for whether there was a higher realm above the king of saint, the mysterious woman didn't say, and Lin Sun didn't ask. But no matter whether it was the true saint or the false saint, no matter the level of the saint realm, it was still a little far away for Lin Sun at present. After all, he hadn't even stepped into the king's realm. Reaching beyond one's reach was a taboo in cultivation. Crack! Suddenly, a clear and melodious sound that sounded like glass shattering resounded in the sky. The mysterious woman suddenly raised her head, looking cold and frightening. A horrifying spatial rift had suddenly appeared in the clear sky, and it was like a hole had been torn open in the sky. One could vaguely see the shadow of a spear filled with supreme majesty looming in the crack of the void. Lin Sun's hair stood on end. He felt an unprecedented oppressive and fatal aura, which made him stiff all over. His soul, Taoist heart, and even his cultivation all showed a sign of collapse. Clatter, the mysterious woman waved her hand, and a divine rainbow shrouded Lin Sun and moved him to a very far place. She stood under the crack with a calm look, but her aura became more and more frightening. Not far away, a flock of sheep was shivering and crawling there like mud. Their eyes were full of horror. It seemed that they didn't expect that such a terrible thing would happen suddenly. Clang! The spear shadow made a sound, and the area was roaring. Suddenly, the world was filled with an indescribable atmosphere of killing and destruction. The world was turned upside down, and the universe was changing. This world seemed to be facing the punishment of God. It came ahead of time, the mysterious woman said to herself. She didn't avoid it, but stood there quietly. Thousands of divine rainbows appeared around her, which made her figure extraordinary and dreamy. Crack! Crack! In the crack in the void, the shadow of the spear gradually condensed and swept out from the broken sky, shattering the nearby void. The shadow of the spear was too horrible. It was intertwined with the supreme power of Tao and law, like a spear of judgment from heaven. Just like in the past, the mysterious woman didn't avoid it because it was useless to avoid it. Because it was the Tao severance spear, and it was like the embodiment of the will of the heaven Tao. Its origins were unfathomable, and it represented inauspiciousness and death. Bang! The spear finally appeared completely. It was too dazzling and blazing, and it was suffused with a boundlessly terrifying aura of slaughter as it smashed down from the sky. At this instant, the flock of sheep that was formed from the 5 saints felt terror as if their souls were about to leave their bodies, and they directly fainted. This was undoubtedly extremely terrifying because the aura emanated by a single spear had actually caused 5 saints to be knocked out in unison. Would anyone dare to believe it if news of this were to spread? At the same time, the mysterious woman didn't avoid it. She pressed her finger together and pointed out, and then the myriad of divine rainbows that coiled around her suddenly flashed out and converged at the tip of her finger. As expected, the tip of her finger collided with the spear. Bang! It was like the heavens and the earth were collapsing. The blazing energy of the laws of order transformed into a monstrous chaotic flow that instantly erupted and swept through the world. It was hard to imagine what kind of supreme and terrifying power this was. It seemed to be able to collapse the sky, break the Great Way, and create a destructive aura that was enough to make all living beings in the world despair. Lin Sun suddenly felt a stabbing pain in his eyes, and his soul was buzzing. Even with the protection of the divine rainbows, he still felt a kind of boundless fear in his mind. Then, he couldn't see anything. After a long time, when Lin Sun's vision became clear again, he saw that the world had already returned to its original state. The sky was still the same, without a trace of being broken. On the earth, the mountains and rivers were still there, and even the grass and trees were intact. It seemed that what he had just seen was just a nightmare that had never happened at all. But when he saw the mysterious woman, Lin Sun was shocked because there was a bowl-sized hole in her left shoulder. Moreover, her figure became more and more blurred and hazy, like smoke, as if it would dissipate at any time. This is the power of Tao severance from the Great Way of the ancient Desolation territory. Anyone who sets foot on the forbidden path of the Saint Realm will be targeted by it. The mysterious woman said casually. When she turned around to look at Lin Sun, the wound on her left shoulder had disappeared. The power of Tao severance. Lin Sun suddenly remembered that he had seen such a scene in the ancient temple left by holy monk Du Ji in the Ksitigarbha temple in the depths of the Boundary River. At that time, through the white jade lotus throne, he was even lucky enough to see the scene when holy monk Du Ji and holy Black Phoenix Empress practiced together. It was like a dream of thousands of years, but in the end the 2 sages died at the same time. The one who killed them was an imposing golden figure. The reason was that the 2 sages created a Dharma scripture together, which violated some taboo power, so that the power of Tao severance came. And the golden figure came from the same place as the power of Tao severance. Thinking of this, Lin Sun was shocked. Today, he had witnessed such a taboo power with his own eyes, and the mysterious woman could survive the power of Tao severance, which was extremely terrifying. "Senior, are you all right?" Lin Sun put aside the distractions in his mind and asked. "I'm fine. I can stay for a while." The mysterious woman looked very calm. But time is running out. I have to change my schedule. As she said, her figure flashed and suddenly evolved into 5 doppelgangers. Each doppelganger was exactly the same as her and had the same amazing aura. I will send these 5 sheep to different orthodoxies to sell. Are you going to go to the Boundary River with me or to a certain orthodoxy? The mysterious woman asked. Originally, according to her plan, she would take Lin Sun to visit the remaining 5 orthodoxies one by one, but it seemed that the appearance of the power of Tao severance changed this idea. The Boundary River? Lin Sun was stunned. Yes, only in the Boundary River can we infer the time of the coming Great Era, and we can also see how different this Great Era is. As soon as the mysterious woman's voice fell, Lin Sun said without hesitation, I'll go to the Boundary River with you. You really don't want to go to the heaven-reaching sword sect or the Holy Land of Spirit Treasure. This is a rare opportunity. Even if it's just a doppelganger, it won't let you suffer any harm. The mysterious woman seemed to mean something. I'm not going. Although Lin Sun felt regretful, he also knew that even if he went there, it would be no different from going to the Black Sea Tengu tribe. Although it would make him feel happy, it was meaningless after all. If he could follow the mysterious woman to see the signs of the coming Great Era, it would undoubtedly be the most precious experience. Okay. The mysterious woman nodded. Her 5 doppelgangers moved together, each driving a sheep, riding the divine rainbow, and moved through the void to the 5 orthodoxies. And she took Lin Sun to the east. Chapter 11:16. The Numinous Treasure Hallowed Land. Verdant Cliff Plateau, true Martial Hall. All the higher-ups were gathered here. There were men and women, young and old, and even the weakest amongst them was at the King realm. The person with the highest status was a young man in a jade robe and a crown. The young man was handsome. He sat there casually, yet the aura he emanated pressured all the great figures present here to the point they felt suffocated. Moreover, all of these great figures sat upright while their expressions carried a wisp of solemnity and even reverence. The young man wasn't a young man any longer. He was an old fellow that had stepped foot into the Saint Realm a few thousand years ago, and his name was Yuyujun. His cultivation was unfathomable. Humiliation. Yuyujun broke the deathly silence in the hall, and it caused the hearts of everyone present to jerk while their expressions changed indeterminately. Since the ancient times until now, my numinous treasure hallowed land has never suffered such humiliation. Yuyujun's voice was indifferent while every single word he spoke was sonorous like thunder, and it emanated a great dignity that terrified the soul as it rumbled and surged through the hall. However, after that, Yuyujun changed the topic and his voice eased up. This can't be blamed on anyone. Who would have imagined that such an extraordinary figure would actually be standing by the side of a tiny ant? Everyone heaved sighs of relief in their hearts while they revealed complicated expressions. My lord, then what should we do? Just wait helplessly for that woman to pay us a visit? Someone couldn't help but ask. What else can we do besides wait? Yuyujun sighed lightly. Saint Dao Kuan is still in her hands. No matter how furious and humiliated we are, we can only endure it this time. The others felt a wave of sorrow and rage in their hearts when they heard this. As an ancient sect that was second to none in the world, when had they ever suffered such treatment? My lord, are you able to deduce exactly who that woman is? Could it be that even with the resources and reserves of our numinous treasure hallowed land, we can't afford to offend her? Someone asked. Then we have to meet her first. Perhaps we'll be able to discover some clues. Yuyujun's eyes suddenly focused when he spoke up to hear. His eyes suddenly focused, and he stood up abruptly. That woman is here. All of you, come with me to meet her. As soon as he finished speaking, he walked out of the hall. A grand path formed from golden rays of light suddenly appeared in the sky above Verdant Cliff Plateau, and then a graceful and hazy figure floated out from within it. In front of her, there was a goat being herded. Even though they had already learned of what had happened at the shores of the Sea of Stars, the important figures of the spiritual treasure Holy Lands still felt extremely humiliated and furious when they saw this scene. Turning a saint into a beast. The woman had really driven the sheep that Saint Dao Kuan had transformed into here, and she was all by herself, as if she was fearless. Although this graceful figure was an incarnation of the mysterious woman, it was no different from her original body. At this moment, her gaze swept across the crowd that was walking over from afar, and she said in a cold voice, "It seems that all of you are very angry?" "I wouldn't dare," someone said expressionlessly. Boom! The mysterious woman took a step forward. In an instant, a terrifying and boundless might radiated from her graceful figure, causing the heavens and earth to rumble. Thump! 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 It was unknown how many high-ranking figures were instantly suppressed to the ground, and they rolled on the ground in disorder. They didn't even have the power to resist. Fellow Taoist, what is the meaning of this? Yu Jun's expression darkened, and a wave of saintly might radiated from his body to neutralize the terrifying aura from the mysterious woman. However, what shocked him was that in terms of the confrontation of might, his might was fiercely suppressed as soon as it approached. Boom! In an instant, Yu Jun's body also shook, as if he was suppressed by the wind, the sea, and the boundless sun. This kind of near-supreme power caused his expression to change again, and he finally realized how terrifying this mysterious woman was. As for the other important figures present, they were all suppressed to the ground at this moment. They were shocked and furious, and they looked extremely pathetic. No one dared to speak anymore. Such saintly might wasn't something they could withstand at all. At the same time, the mysterious woman retracted her might and said, "You're bullying the weak. Can't you see that?" Yu Jun's expression immediately turned gloomy. This was not just bullying the weak, it was simply looking down on the spiritual treasure Holy Land. However, although he was furious, Yu Jun finally held back when he saw the sheep prostrating beside the mysterious woman. Similar scenes happened at almost the same time in the Heavenly Sword sect, the Heavens Pivot Holy Land, the Vast Sea Taoist sect, and the Pure Land of Longevity. No matter how angry and aggrieved these orthodoxies were, they ultimately held back. The mysterious woman was only paying them a visit, and she didn't start a massacre. Moreover, she was holding the lives of the 5 sages who had turned into sheep in her hands, so these orthodoxies could only hold back. In the end, when the mysterious woman left, she obtained a sum of money from selling sheep that was enough to make these orthodoxies' hearts ache. For example, a bottle of gold wind dew from the spirit treasure Sacred Land. Even though it only contained 9 drops, the value of every single drop could be said to be immeasurable, and it wasn't inferior to the lightning origin spiritual liquid contained within a section of myriad tribulation lightning bamboo at all. Another example was a bottle of spirit condensation powder from the Heavenly Sword sect. It was also a top-notch treasure that could only be found by luck. In short, the mysterious woman's trip to herd sheep could be said to be full of rewards. And the terrifying power that she displayed also shocked and frightened these orthodoxies. No matter who it was, no matter how much they hated her, they could only hold it in. The only thing that made these orthodoxies feel at ease was that when she returned those captured sages, the mysterious woman returned the saint treasures of their respective orthodoxies. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the matter to end so smoothly. This was utterly impossible to conceal. Not long after the mysterious woman left the various orthodoxies, this news seemed as if it had grown wings and spread towards the different areas of the 4 worlds in the ancient Desolation region. For a time, it caused an uproar and shock. On the other hand, the guess of the mysterious woman's identity became the topic that countless orthodoxies and cultivators paid the most attention to. Who is she? What relationship does she have with Devil God Lin? A mighty uproar arose in the entire world because of this. The undeniable fact was that the reputation of the Heavenly Sword sect and all the other ancient orthodoxies had suffered a huge blow after this incident, and they were covered in dirt and lost all face. From today onward, anyone who wanted to go against Devil God Lin was bound to have to consider the consequences. This uproar was extremely great, and it was even to the extent that some saints that lived in seclusion in the world were alarmed and started to pay attention to it. Violet Myrtle Mountain, the Yi clan. Yi Chen was drinking wine to his heart's content, and he seemed to be enjoying himself. From the moment he found out that Lin Sun was fine, he started drinking. Up until now, there was a pile of empty wine jars on the ground. "Young master, if you continue drinking, you'll really get drunk," a maid at the side reminded him in a clear voice. "You don't understand. I'm practicing my alcohol tolerance." Yi Chen was drowsy from being drunk, and he spoke vaguely. "Why are you practicing your alcohol tolerance?" "Of course it's to completely knock that guy out." "Could it be that guy's alcohol tolerance is greater than young master's?" When she spoke up to this point, the maid instantly noticed that the young master was already drunk. He reclined on the soft chair with a drunken appearance, and he was still muttering, "Satisfying, really satisfying, who's that guy?" The maid had a puzzled expression. "Little Tian, your friend is fine. Now you can rest assured, right?" The old woman asked with a smile. "Great-grandmother, I'll say it again. He's not my friend," laughing at the heavens corrected her seriously. Laughing at the heavens corrected her seriously. "Of course I can rest assured that he's alive, because I want to wash away the shame and save my face, so I have to defeat him." The old woman let out an "oh" sound and said, "Then, do you think you can defeat him?" Laughing at the heavens said without hesitation, "Not now, but definitely in the future. Of course, before that, I'll first defeat that guy Yi Chen. This guy is too pretentious, I've never liked him since I was young." His words were impassioned, and he had a disdainful and arrogant attitude. "You're ambitious," the old woman praised with a smile. Few people knew that the sword and saber duo of the Northern Dipper world had known each other since they were young, and until now, neither of them had been convinced by the other. Zhao Jingxian was sitting in front of a desk, writing a letter and humming a little tune. Her expression was relaxed and joyful. Her handwriting was different from that of ordinary women. It was strong and free, like a dragon or snake rising from the land, and it was powerful and natural. "Junior sister Jingxian, what song are you humming?" Yan Zhanqiu's voice sounded outside the room. This was the forbidden area of the back mountain. Although she was temporarily grounded here, it didn't mean that Zhao Jingxian couldn't hear the news of the outside world. If it were a few days ago, Zhao Jingxian wouldn't have bothered to respond to Yan Zhanqiu's voice. But now, she was in an exceptionally good mood, and she replied casually, "Heavenly Sun's song." "Very good." Yan Zhanqiu was startled, and he nodded. "Of course it's very good. This song is related to Lin Sun." As soon as Zhao Jingxian finished speaking, Yan Zhanqiu, who was standing outside the room, frowned and said, "Junior sister Jingxian, can you tell me how he obtained the 9 transformations of the Calamity Dragon?" The joy in Zhao Jingxuan's heart instantly disappeared, and she felt a little disappointed. She said coldly, "You're asking me, but how would I know?" Yan Zhanqiu sighed, "Forget it, I'll ask him personally, when I have the chance in the future." "You still want to be his enemy?" Zhao Jingxuan's clear eyes turned cold. Yan Zhanqiu shrugged and said, "Everyone knows that as long as one doesn't bully the weak, anyone can spar with Lin Sun. My cultivation level is similar to his, so if there's a chance to spar, it won't be considered bullying." Zhao Jingxian fell silent for a moment and she suddenly smiled. "Then I'll wish senior brother Yan good luck." "You?" Yan Zhanqiu couldn't help but ask, "Aren't you worried that I'll kill him?" "I'm not worried," Zhao Jingxian replied without hesitation. Yan Zhanqiu suddenly felt an indescribable anger in his heart. He took a deep breath, and without another word, he turned around and left. In the room, Zhao Jingxian kept the letter she had written and carefully sealed it. She planned to find a time to send it to the Empire. The letter recorded some information about Lin Sun, which she had carefully selected. At the same time, a mysterious woman stood in the void beside the Boundary River. Her figure was graceful, and her clothes fluttered in the wind, making her look like a goddess. She gazed into the depths of the Boundary River, and after a long time she suddenly said, "This great era might come early. P.S. It's time to write a new plot. I'm stuck, but I'll try my best to settle today's outbreak." Chapter 11:17. This was an extremely chaotic Boundary River. Lin Sun had crossed the Boundary River from the Westhing territory to the Dongxing territory before, so he had seen the horror in the Boundary River. However, it was far from being comparable to the Boundary River in front of him. The water of this Boundary River was turbid and turbulent. Wind, clouds, thunder, lightning, terrible streamers, raging vortexes, and broken void cracks filled it. Indistinctly, there were even bursts of roars like gods and demons ringing in the depths of the Boundary River. Looking at it from a distance, Lin Sun felt a chill from the bottom of his heart. In ancient times, the Battle of Nirvana broke out here, and thousands of sages from all races died here. The mysterious woman looked a little absent-minded, and because of this battle, it became the source of the destruction of the ancient Desolation realm. The Battle of Nirvana. Lin Sun narrowed his eyes and asked, "Why did such a battle happen?" The mysterious woman said, "This is the Battle of the 9 territories. No one can avoid it. Those opponents are all from other territories. If we don't fight back, the ancient Desolation realm will be ruled by the orthodoxies of other territories." Lin Sun had heard some rumors about the 9 territories in the immortal Forbidden Land, but he didn't expect that the Battle of Nirvana in ancient times was related to the Battle of the 9 territories. At this time, Lin Sun was finally sure that there were other territories outside the ancient Desolation realm. "Senior, can you tell me something about the other territories?" Lin Sun was really curious about where the other territories were and why he had never heard of them before. The other 8 territories are the same as the ancient Desolation realm. They are all cultivation worlds. They are essentially the same. The mysterious woman said casually, however, the ancient Desolation realm is the weakest one, at the bottom of the 9 territories. Speaking of this, a cold smile appeared on her lips. "Do you know what the other 8 territories think of the ancient Desolation realm?" Lin Sun shook his head. "The wasteland." The mysterious woman spat out 2 words. "The wasteland." Lin Sun was stunned. He was keenly aware that there was a sense of disdain in the way she addressed him. The mysterious woman explained, "In the eyes of the ancient Desolation realm, the inferior world is a barren wasteland. In the eyes of the other 8 realms, the ancient Desolation realm is almost the same as the inferior world. It is regarded as a wasteland, and the Great Way is wasted. It is like an uncivilized land." Lin Sun was sure that his feeling was not wrong. The word wasteland was indeed a derogatory and contemptuous title. In antiquity times, the ancient Desolation realm was invaded by the other 8 realms more than once. Every time they invaded, the world was in chaos. People were killed and blood flowed like rivers, the mysterious woman said in a low voice. The most serious one was the Battle of Nirvana. The 8 regions joined hands and invaded the ancient Desolation region. It was like the end of the world. The entire ancient Desolation region was in chaos. Many sages were killed. In this battle, the ancient Desolation realm was broken into pieces and became the 4 great worlds. The number of creatures that died in this battle is uncountable. But I can tell you that, if it were not for this Battle of Nirvana, the ancient Desolation realm would not have been divided, and there would be more ancient orthodoxies in the world. Many ancient heritages were destroyed at that time. What a pity! The more she said, the lower her voice became, with a trace of sadness and disappointment. Lin Sun was quite disturbed. This was the first time he had heard of the battle between the 9 realms and the Battle of Nirvana. It was also the first time he clearly knew that the destruction of the ancient Desolation realm had something to do with the invasion of the other 8 realms. Why did the invasion happen? Lin Sun couldn't help asking. It is related to the struggle for the Great Way. Although the ancient Desolation realm is at the bottom of the 9 realms and is regarded as a wasteland by the other 8 realms, it used to be glorious and brilliant in the beginning. It once shocked all the realms and stood above the clouds. It was regarded as a sacred and immortal land. Speaking of this, the mysterious woman's temperament changed, with a trace of unparalleled pride and disdain. But soon, she sighed faintly, let's not talk about it. These old things are in the past. The glory is gone and the brilliance is gone. In the end, it will wither like a withered flower. Lin Sun was in a daze with mixed feelings. Everything he heard at this time involved the 9 realms and the past of the ancient Desolation realm. These were all things that he had never touched or understood before. Now, he was lucky enough to know it, but his heart was inexplicably heavy. These things have nothing to do with you for the time being, and you don't have to worry about them. What you need to do is to seize the opportunity of the coming great era and strive for the king realm. The mysterious woman said slowly and looked extremely serious. If you miss it, I'm afraid you won't have such a chance in the future. Lin Sun was awestruck and nodded seriously. Too many people are waiting for this great era. Not only the people in the world, but also some people who have been silent in the long river of time will wake up from silence and come out of hibernation. The mysterious woman said, so, you should be mentally prepared. Hearing this, Lin Sun once again thought of the little child, who was dormant in the sacred island of 5 elements in Xiaohao, the young master of the Nether Star Imperial clan who was silent in the Star Egg. None of these guys belonged to the people in the world. But there was no doubt that when they came out, they were bound to stir up the world. Look, although the Boundary River is filled with danger and a catastrophe, there is an incomparably vast vitality being born behind the endless danger. You can see the whole picture by peeking at a corner. This is the case in the Border River, and the same is true in other places in the ancient Desolation realm. This is the sign of the coming great era. The mysterious woman looked at the Border River in the distance and pointed out to Lin Sun. As the saying goes, when things reach an extreme, they will go in the opposite direction. Since the Nirvana War, the ancient Desolation realm has been silent for too long. Its hidden strength is destined to burst out when the great era comes. Lin Sun looked carefully, but he could only see endless dangers and disasters. He couldn't see the so-called vitality at all. He also understood the reason. His realm was too low to see the general trend of the world. The mysterious woman said, according to my speculation, the great era is very likely to come in advance, and it should be no more than 3 months at most. Less than 3 months left? Lin Sun was really taken aback this time. He was caught off guard. The sign of the great era involves the changes of the whole world, which is intricate and complicated. Moreover, this great era is different from the previous ones. It is unprecedented, and it is destined that no one can see everything. The mysterious woman said, however, the more it is like this, the more opportunities there will be, and the greater the fortune we can get. Lin Sun's black eyes brightened, and he looked forward to it. Before long, the mysterious woman left with Lin Sun. On the way, she gave Lin Sun all the money she earned from selling sheep from the heaven-reaching sword sect and the other 4 orthodoxies. The golden wind dew of the holy land of spirit treasure, the spirit concentration powder of the heaven-reaching sword sect, the star acupoint recovery pill of the heavens pivot holy land, the fountain of youth from the pure land of longevity, and the colorful chalcedony of the Sea Taoism sect. Together with the Thunder Yuan spiritual liquid from the Black Sea Dog tribe, there were 6 kinds of divine treasures in total, and each of them was a rare cultivation treasure. It was so valuable that it was sufficient to make the eyes of any cultivator go red with envy. The mysterious woman said casually, "These should be enough for you to become a king. Before that, I suggest you comprehend and master the profound meaning of the immortal way. Even if you encounter a life-threatening situation, with the power of the immortal way, it will not be easy for you to die." Lin Sun broke out in a cold sweat. She did not encourage him, but first considered death. Her concern was really different. In the end, the mysterious woman and Lin Sun returned to the Star-Chess Sea again. There was no one here, but the traces of the battle were still there. The mountains and rivers that had collapsed into ruins were silently telling how terrifying the battle of the divine path a few days ago was. Before and after the great era arrives, at least no ancient orthodoxy will dare to target you. However, it is hard to guarantee that some desperados will jump out. You have to be careful. I can stand up for you for a while, but I can't help you forever. In the end, you still have to rely on yourself to seek the immortal way. After that, the mysterious woman's figure disappeared into thin air, and she returned to the heaven-accessing place. Lin Sun felt lost. He recalled everything that had happened, from being besieged by the sages to the mysterious woman's appearance, suppressing everyone on her own. From Saint Mu acting like an animal, to ascending the Black Nightmare Mountain as if he had entered an uninhabited land, to the conversation by the border river, all of this was like experiencing a bizarre and dazzling dream, yet it was clearly branded in his mind and appeared vividly before his eyes. Lin Sun stood on the lone island in the depths of the Star-Chess Sea, lost in thought for a long time. In the end, he took a deep breath, and his black eyes became determined again. This experience had shown him what it meant to have extraordinary means, to look down on the world, and to be unparalleled in the world. He also finally understood that when he possessed absolute power, he could fear no orthodoxy in the world even if he was alone. At this moment, Lin Sun suddenly had a strong desire for the great era to arrive. He wanted to compete for the immortal way with the other geniuses and obtain the great opportunity to become a supreme king. From this day onwards, Lin Sun began to cultivate in seclusion in the depths of the Star-Chess Sea. In the outside world, a storm was still brewing. The story of the mysterious woman suppressing the 6 sages and visiting the 6 orthodoxies was still fermenting and spreading. The 6 orthodoxies could be said to have lost all face this time. The other orthodoxies were shocked by this as well, and all of them were surprised. They'd never imagined that a young man who was looked down upon by any of the ancient orthodoxies would actually have such a peerless existence standing behind him. The cultivators of the world were similarly discussing this matter, and they were seething with excitement. It's that Lin Sun again. In the forbidden area at the back of the mountain of the Heavenly Sword sect, a young man sat cross-legged under an extremely ancient divine tree. His eyes suddenly opened, and 2 bolts of cold lightning shot out. At this moment, the boy who came to report the news was covered in cold sweat, and he felt as if he was in an icy pit. The reason was that the aura emitted by the young man was too terrifying. As his eyes opened and closed, they were like a pair of unfathomable vortexes, and they flowed with strands of electric arcs that were like swords. They seemed to be able to see through everything and cut and devour one's soul. Chapter 11:18. Wisps of the aura of the Great Way diffused from the young man's body. Although he was sitting cross-legged, he was like a peerless sword immortal, sharp and frightening. The boy trembled all over and said, "Don't be angry, Your Excellency. This man is definitely no match for you." Although the boy looked young, he was actually an old monster who had been cultivating for thousands of years. He was a strong practitioner of the Golden Ape clan and had the cultivation of half-step to the king realm. But in front of the young man, he regarded himself as a servant. Because this young man was Yun Qi Bai. He was the peerless figure who was known as the first person under the king realm in the ancient Desolation territory 10 years ago. Do you know the real background of Lin Sun? Yunqingbai restrained his aura and calmed down. I only know that he comes from the mortal world. His origin is still a mystery. Originally, the sect sent people to the mortal world to inquire about him. But for some reason, the passage from the sect to the mortal world has been broken, so we still don't know his specific origin. The boy said hurriedly. The mortal world? Yunqingbai was lost in thought. He recalled the events of the past, and he recalled the Lin clan. Could it be? Yunqingbai frowned imperceptibly. At this moment, the boy said, according to the news, this man has mastered an extremely terrible power of the Great Way, which is very similar to the power of the Great Way you have mastered. Before he finished, Yunqingbai said flatly, impossible. With a touch of coldness in his voice, the sonorous killing intent overflowed. The boy was so shocked that he was stiff all over and almost fell to the ground. Seeing this, Yunqingbai also knew that he had lost his composure just now. He couldn't help laughing at himself. What was wrong with him? Was he still obsessed with what happened in the past? He took a deep breath. His Taoist heart was as clear as a sword, clear and transparent, no longer affected by any distracting thoughts and fluctuations. I heard that a woman supported Lin Sun this time. She went to the gate alone and forced the sect to hand over a pot of spirit concentrating powder? Yunqingbai asked. Yes, the boy lowered his head. She also said that if it was a competition between peers, she would never intervene in Lin Sun's affairs? Exactly. After confirming this, Yunqingbai suddenly got up and stood under the ancient divine tree. He looked into the distance and said, the great era is coming, and the Tianjiao Golden List will also appear. No matter who Lin Sun is, I will kill him to wash away the shame of our sect. The boy perked up as he said excitedly, with my lord taking action, this fiend celestial Lin is dead for sure. I've been in seclusion for nearly 10 years. I wonder if the world has forgotten about me, Yunqingbai. I heard that many people think that I'm no longer the same as I was in the past, that I have enemies in the world, and that I'm not even comparable to some ancient freaks. Now that I've come out of seclusion, I'll naturally give them a surprise. Yunqingbai's figure was cold and aloof. His clothes were whiter than snow, and his hands were behind his back. He stood there casually, exuding an otherworldly aura. Great One is a heaven-warping divine martial artist, comparable to an ancient sacred child. 10 years ago, he was already unmatched among his peers. This time, he will definitely be able to sweep through all enemies. The boy's voice carried a wisp of fervent admiration. Yunqingbai's expression was indifferent as he turned a deaf ear to the boy. His Tao had been honed to an extremely perfect state. In the past 10 years of seclusion, he had concealed his strength and bided his time, allowing him to make up for his shortcomings and nurture a truly invincible aura. His strength no longer needed the recognition of others. Go and help me collect some information about Ancient Freak. There's no need to fear the current generation. Only those monsters that have been dormant for years, waiting to be born in the great world, are worth paying attention to. Yunqingbai casually instructed. What are you going to do, my lord? The boy's heart trembled as he had a premonition. Yunqingbai's eyes surged with a luster that resembled a whirlpool. Don't the world think that I, Yunqingbai, can't be compared to some ancient freaks? When the great world comes and I compete for the Tianjiao Golden ranking, I'll kill a few similar characters as soon as possible. The boy's face was full of admiration and admiration. He wasn't blindly flattering Yunqingbai, but he knew very well that Yunqingbai was really too strong. 10 years of seclusion would only make him stronger than before. Of course, remember to pay attention to that Lin Sun. Maybe it was a sudden impulse, but Yunqingbai inexplicably thought of this young man that he had never met before, so he subconsciously gave the order. The boy nodded and left with the order. Several days later, while the world was still discussing about the mysterious woman suppressing the 6 sages, the divine secret pavilion of the Saint Hermit Land announced, The great world would come in 3 months. All of a sudden, the 4 great worlds were boiling, and the whole ancient desolation was in an uproar. This great world had long been predicted. After countless years of waiting, it was finally coming. The news was so shocking that it suddenly became the focus of all the cultivators in the world. A competition among the tens of thousands of prides is about to begin. I wonder how many lucky people will be able to seize the fortune of the great world and forge their way to the top of the world. Many cultivators were excited. It's finally here. This opportunity is unprecedented, so it's destined to be unprecedented. We must seize it. Many ancient orthodoxies began to prepare for the coming of the great world. It's a pity that the great world has come in advance. Doesn't it mean that the star list competition of the 4 realms can't be carried out as scheduled? Some felt it was a pity. Originally, the star list competition of the 4 realms would begin in half a year's time. Many of the top prides were preparing for it, hoping to become the top of the world. But obviously it was destined to never happen again. The early arrival of the great world had disrupted all their plans. This is nothing. Compared to the star list competition of the 4 realms, the competition for the golden list of prodigies is the most exciting. That's right. Only those who can enter the golden list of prodigies can be called a true prodigy. As for the other so-called prodigies, they are destined to be removed. Prodigies, God's favored ones. Not everyone deserves to be called a prodigy. All kinds of discussions were happening in different areas of the ancient desolation. Moreover, as time went by, it seemed to be getting more and more intense. This was the influence of the great world. It was related to the future of the entire ancient desolation. Whether it was the ancient orthodoxies or the cultivators in the world, they were destined to be affected. Who could rise in the great world, and who could lead the great world? That was undoubtedly what every cultivator was most concerned about. Chaos Demon Impasse. One of the 5 great forbidden areas of the ancient desolation. Within an extremely bloody battlefield, demon beasts wreaked havoc and vengeful spirits roamed about, and it was terrifying and horrifying like a domain of ghosts. But there was an area within it that was completely empty and clean. No matter if it was demon beasts or vengeful spirits, none of them dared step foot in this area of 500 kilometers. A black-robed young man was sitting cross-legged on the ground as he meditated, and his white hair that was like snow hung down to reveal a handsome face with distinct angles. Swoosh! A flowing light tore through the sky and arrived before him. The black-robed young man suddenly opened his eyes before he stretched out his hand like a bolt of lightning to grab the flowing light, and when he stretched out his palm, a jade talisman that overflowed with multicolored flowing lights had appeared. He crushed the jade talisman, and an extremely aged voice instantly drifted out from within it. The great world is about to arrive in 3 months. Maha, it's time to return. A great world! The black-robed young man stood up while his tall and imposing figure rumbled as he emitted a strand of black divine light that shot into the sky, and it was like an eternal night that covered the entire battlefield. The demon beasts and vengeful spirits on the battlefield were terrified, and all of them started wailing with grief. Some shivered while some fled madly for their lives. He's actually come in advance. Fortunately, I've already attained the Tao Insight realm in my All-Heaven Anatta Tao during these few days of tempering in the Chaos Demon Impasse. I have nothing to fear in the battle for the top in the world this time. Swoosh! The black-robed young man didn't hesitate in the slightest to soar into the sky and leave. On this day, the divine origin sex Yi Maha, a peerless figure that was ranked on the Supreme Giant rankings, walked out of the Chaos Demon Impasse. Universe Void Star Path. One of the 5 great forbidden areas of the ancient desolation region. In the boundless space, the stars were like dense chess pieces that were scattered in the void, and they flickered brightly as they drew out a boundlessly winding path of stars. This was a starry sky within a secret realm, and it was a renowned forbidden area of great ferocity since the ancient times. At this moment, a gray-robed young man was walking on it. His clothes were in rags, his entire body covered in injuries, and he seemed to be in an extremely sorry and miserable state. But his expression was firm like a rock, and it didn't waver in the slightest. His imposing aura was similarly peerlessly strong like a sword that had been tempered for a long time. Suddenly, a pearl on his wrist lit up, and it emitted a strand of a warm and mellow voice. Hungjin, the great era is about to arrive. It's time to return. The young man was stunned, and then he let out a long breath of foul air as he muttered. It's already about to begin? All right, I've waited for too long. Swish, swish. On his body, the dense injuries healed at a shocking speed, and then a layer of dead skin fell off to reveal new skin that was crystalline like jade. Instantly, an imposing aura that was lofty like a mountain and boundlessly vast stretched out from his body, and it shook this expanse of the starry sky. On this day, the disciple of Sun Moon Hall, Mi Hungjin, returned from the universe void star path. On the same day, similar scenes were occurring in different sections. Some peerless figures that were either in seclusion, in closed-door cultivation, or in tempering stopped what they were doing and started preparing for the arrival of the great era. The ultimate Taoist sect, Wang Xuanyu, who'd been in closed-door cultivation for many years, made an appearance. He wore a black Taoist robe and had a handsome face, but he seemed to be very mischievous. When he walked out of the closed-door cultivation room while yawning, he was as inconspicuous as a passerby. However, all the disciples that he encountered along the way would stop what they were doing and bow to him. Their faces were filled with impeccable respect. At the sacred land of spirit treasures, Yen Zhanqiu stood alone at the peak of a mountain, gazing at the sea of clouds. His robe danced in the wind, and he was shrouded in mist. He looked like a banished immortal. The great era is coming. Whether junior sister Jing Xian blames me or not, I will destroy you. The 9 changes of the Calamity Dragon cannot be mastered by outsiders. He murmured to himself with an indifferent look on his face. Ji Xingyao of the Profound Inquiry Sword School, Luo Jia, the successor of the Sword Saint of Miluo Palace in the Earth Imperial Universe, and Shun Baixian, a descendant of a family of saints, in different areas of the ancient Desolation region, different sects were taking action. Apart from the sects, in many secluded places of seclusion, and in some unknown secret realms, there were unusual movements as well. With the arrival of the Great Era, even some ancient freaks that had been dormant for a long time began to show up. P.S. There won't be a 5th chapter today. Goldfish was a little ashamed. The reason was that a new plot was about to unfold, so she wrote very slowly. She spent a lot of time thinking, and her writing was stuttering. If the number of words was limited, Goldfish could have written the plot of the mysterious woman stepping into the various sects one by one. But that would be perfunctory, and I wouldn't be able to get over it. Explosive is explosive, but the prerequisite is that the quality must be guaranteed. This was what Goldfish had always insisted on. Don't be unhappy about only 4 chapters today. To make up for it, Goldfish will continue to do so tomorrow. Chapter 11-19. East Victory World, on a majestic mountain shrouded in green mist. With a bang, the mountain that was 30,000 meters tall was uprooted from the ground and then collapsed to one side, causing the ground to shake and rocks to explode. It was unknown how many demonic beasts and living creatures were smashed to death within 100,000 zhang. Woo woo woo. At the bottom of the collapsed mountain, a wailing sound came from a man in a red robe, who was crying. He was tall, his blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and there was a vertical eye between his eyebrows. He seemed extremely terrifying. The heavens have pity on me. I've been sealed for 10,000 years. Who can understand my pain? Luckily, the great era has come. Ha ha. The man in a red robe who was crying suddenly laughed wildly. His red hair was burning like flames, and when the vertical eye between his eyebrows opened, It shot out a mysterious blood-red glow like a peerless demon. 10,000 years is too long. I have to seize every moment. I've been silent for too long. It's time for me to make an appearance in this great era. The man in a red robe muttered to himself. His eyes were terrifying, and evil energy rose around him. If I can step into the peak of the king realm, 10,000 years of silence is worth it. Congratulations, young master. An old servant floated over. He was a king, but he was extremely respectful to the man in a red robe. It's been 10,000 years. I thought the clan had forgotten about me. The man in a red robe snorted coldly. Even though the old servant was a king, he didn't show any courtesy. Young master, the clan has placed all the fortune of 10,000 years on you. It's enough to show how much the clan values you. I hope you won't be resentful, the old servant explained. The man in a red robe said impatiently, "You've come at the right time. I haven't understood the affairs of the world for a long time. Tell me, who is the most powerful person in the world? I've accumulated too much anger in my heart, and I need to kill some prey to vent it." After a pause, he looked up at the sky, and a sharp smile appeared on his lips. "At the same time, I need to tell the world that I, Qi Lingxiao, have returned." Similar things were happening in other areas as well. Ancient freaks and extraordinary geniuses came out one after another. At the bottom of a golden volcano, magma that had been silent for countless years surged up again and started to boil. Boom! Suddenly, the volcano erupted, waves of flames overflowing into the heavens, burning this expanse of the heavens, startling many cultivation powers in this region. Many cultivators were trembling, and they shot their gazes over. Amidst the raging flames, a woman's figure bathed in the wind and snow rose into the air. She exploded with endless icy cold light, freezing and extinguishing the flames. This woman had dark blue long hair and eyes that were azure like the ocean. She looked down upon everything in the world from the sky, and she was like a snow fairy that had descended to the mortal world. Her aura was exceptionally powerful. She was clearly only at the reincarnation development realm, but it was absolutely terrifying. It was enough to make a half-step to King Realm tremble in the knees. Great era! Great era! As she muttered to herself, the woman strode through space. Every single step she took would cause space to freeze into a path of ice that stretched extremely far into the distance. The legend recorded in the ancient books is actually true. Thousands of years ago, there was a peerless saintess who went into hibernation here, waiting for the best opportunity to become a king. Who would have thought that the rumors would come true? What's her name? And where did he come from? I'm not sure. The ancient books only recorded the 2 words frosty snow. Some big shots who looked at this scene couldn't help but exclaim. In just a few days, it was like 100 flowers were blooming. Countless mysterious geniuses, freaks, and peerless demons appeared in the entire ancient desolation realm. They swept across the world and caused great wave. This great era that has attracted much attention is really coming. Countless ancient orthodoxies sighed with emotion these days. In the depths of the Star Chess Sea, on an isolated island, Lin Sun sat cross-legged on a rock. The silver seawater in the distance undulated, giving off misty starlight. It was quiet and ethereal. The outside world was in an uproar, as if the sky was changing. But all this had nothing to do with Lin Sun. He had been sitting and cultivating in silence, as if he was completely isolated from the world. The outside world was destined to be unable to disturb the peace of the Star Chess Sea. Being aloof from the world didn't mean that he was truly not fighting. He retreated in order to advance. When geniuses and freaks appeared in the outside world, Lin Sun seemed to have entered a dormant state. Time passed. A month later, Lin Sun opened his eyes from meditation. Strands of obscure and abundant aura of the undying Tao surged out from his body. This Tao is like an inextinguishable furnace, creating vitality and spreading it all over my body, making the qi inside and outside my body circulate continuously. Lin soon calmly felt the power of the immortal Tao. It had only been a little more than a month since he started cultivating, but he had once again comprehended and mastered an immortal Tao. The speed of his comprehension was absolutely amazing. But the reason was simple. The immortal Tao was originally intercepted by the mysterious woman and imprinted in Lin Sun's sea of consciousness, so he could comprehend it without searching for it. On the other hand, since the transformation of Qion You's heart and the magical effect of mind controlling and Tao, Lin Sun's speed of enlightenment was obviously much faster than before. In this way, it was reasonable for the power of the immortal Tao to reach the level of Tao in such a short time. Clang! Lin Sun, who was silently comprehending, took out the broken sword and cut a wound on his arm. When the blood gurgled out, Lin Sun ignored it. However, an astonishing scene occurred. The cracks on the wound wriggled at an astonishing speed and quickly healed, becoming as good as new. Not a single scar could be seen. Immortality meant endless vitality. This was a kind of self-healing power of the Tao. Although the Tao of Wood also had the mystery of eternal vitality, it was different from the immortal Tao. Eternal vitality didn't mean that vitality wouldn't be lost. But the immortal Tao was completely a kind of self-healing power. Bang! Lin Sun hit his chest with the Swanee seal. The force was so overbearing that it was enough to kill a peerless talent. And he didn't use any power to dissolve it, so he was shaken and coughed up blood, suffering a certain degree of internal injury. However, the pain of the internal injury soon disappeared, and he couldn't feel it. Moreover, when Lin Sun ran the immortal Tao, the effect was even more amazing. In the blink of an eye, the internal injury had completely disappeared, leaving no side effects. This kind of abnormal self-healing power was amazing. Lin Sun's black eyes were bright, and his heart was filled with joy. This kind of self-healing power was extremely useful, especially in the battle. When fighting with the enemy, it was equivalent to having an extremely abnormal defensive power. Later, Lin Sun carried out many tests and finally concluded that if he suffered a skin injury, the power of the immortal Tao could self-heal in the shortest time. Even if the injury was extremely serious, it wouldn't stop the self-healing power. If he suffered an internal injury, he needed to run the immortal Tao, which consumed a certain amount of strength. After all, no matter how magical the Tao was, he needed to run the immortal Tao to use it, which was bound to produce consumption. However, this consumption was negligible, far more effective than taking elixirs for healing. He needed to find a chance to take elixirs, but it was not so troublesome to run the immortal Tao. In particular, if he encountered a peerless enemy, he could completely occupy an absolute advantage in the battle when both sides were injured. This is just the immortal Tao. If it reaches the level of Tao, or even the level of Tao, how powerful will it be? Lin Sun secretly decided that he would spend more energy on refining the immortal Tao in the future. Having such a power was no different from having a few more lives. Even if he encountered a fatal danger, he would have enough opportunities to resolve it. It's been a month. I wonder what has happened in the outside world. Lin Sun stood up and looked into the distance. Very soon, he noticed that there were many figures lingering at the shores of the Star Chess Sea. Maybe I can get some information from them. With this thought, Lin Sun's figure flashed, and he swept toward the Star Chess Sea. There were many cultivators by the Star Chess Sea. There were men and women, and they came from different orthodoxies. They seemed to be waiting for something. A month ago, the earth-shattering battle of the Saint Realm took place here. 6 sages attacked, but they were easily suppressed. That mysterious woman's means are absolutely immeasurable. Someone sighed. There were still traces of the battle of the Saint Realm left in the field, and it became the focus of many cultivators. This matter has long been known to the world. This time, we came here because we heard that some veteran peerless talents are coming here to challenge Demon God Lin. That demonic god Lin killed a group of kings and geniuses in the Star Chess Sea. Furthermore, he is the number 1 on the minor giants ranking board. He has caused a huge commotion among the younger generation. I've also heard that quite a number of powerful characters are dissatisfied with him. The cultivators in the field discussed incessantly. They came here because they heard that many peerless figures who had been in seclusion for many years had come out of some orthodoxies. They wanted to use this opportunity to see how demon god Lin was. Speaking of which, there have been countless peerless figures in the world in the past month. There are even some ancient freaks and peerless geniuses. It can be said to be a gathering of stars, and each of them is outstanding. Compared to them, demon god Lin has been silent for the past month. The world hasn't heard any news about him, and his brilliance has been suppressed. Haha, no matter how strong demon god Lin is, his foundation is too shallow. How can he compare to those veteran peerless figures? There's no way he can be compared to those ancient freaks. The world suspects that demon god Lin is hiding in the Star Chess Sea. Let's just wait. According to the news I received, some peerless figures will come looking for him very soon. The cultivators were all speculating and looking forward to it. When Lin soon arrived at the shore of the Star Chess Sea, he heard all the discussions. His expression did not change as he quietly sat on an island closest to the shore. He planned to continue listening and judge how many sensational events had happened in the outside world as the Great Era approached. As for leaving the Star Chess Sea to wander in the outside world, Lin soon had no plans to do so for now. Chapter 11:20. As time passed, more cultivators arrived at the shore of the Star Chess Ocean. They were all discussing and waiting. The news has been confirmed. It's a peerless prodigy from the heavens' pivot sacred ground. His name is Chu Zhongtian. Soon, he will be here personally to suppress demon god Lin. Soon, someone revealed a reliable piece of information that caused a commotion. He's the heaven-defying monster who appeared 3 times in the past 1,000 years and obtained first place in the 4 regions star ranking tournament? That's him. This person has been viewed as a peerless prodigy since 1,000 years ago. He stands alone in a region, and every time he appears, he is like a dragon emerging from the abyss, stirring up the world. There were endless discussions. Clearly, they knew about Chu Zhongtian's background. He laid low for 1,000 years just to wait for an opportunity to become a monarch. This Chu Zhongtian is really patient. Someone sighed. In today's world, the combat strength of a peerless prodigy isn't determined by time. Chu Zhongtian is indeed impressive and can be said to be an experienced powerhouse. However, everyone knows that he was defeated by Yun Qingbai during his 3rd appearance. Suddenly, someone sneered. Everyone was stunned. Then, they suddenly recalled that it was true. When Chu Zhongtian appeared for the 3rd time, it was also when Yun Qingbai was in the limelight. He was only a few decades old and was already viewed as the number 1 person below the monarch realm in the ancient Desolation region. For some unknown reason, Chu Zhongtian took the initiative to invite Yun Qingbai to fight, and Yun Qingbai agreed without hesitation. The result was unexpected. Chu Zhongtian, whom everyone thought highly of, was ultimately defeated by Yun Qingbai and was suppressed. Back then, Yun Qingbai once said something that shocked the world. If combat strength needs to be accumulated over time, then is a pig that can live for 1,000,000 years completely invincible? The disdain in his words was undisguised. Of course, Chu Zhongtian wasn't a pig. The reason why he didn't make a breakthrough was because he was waiting for the arrival of the Great Era. It wasn't because he wanted to gain an advantage in terms of cultivation time. However, no matter what, he was ultimately defeated. Ever since then, he disappeared from the eyes of the world and went into seclusion once again. This time, the Great Era that Chu Zhongtian has been waiting for has finally arrived. But I never expected that the first one to be suppressed would be demon god Lin. He might have been defeated by Yunqi by back then, but it didn't damage his reputation. After all, a person who was able to obtain first place in the stars ranking tournament 3 times definitely isn't an ordinary person. Fiend Celestial Lin is in danger. He's only number 1 on the minor giants roll, and isn't even 30 years old. In comparison, be it in terms of heritage or reputation, he is far inferior to Chu Zhongtian. That's not necessarily the case. As I said, in the reincarnation development state, a person's combat power is never measured by cultivation time. In my opinion, Fiend God Lin might not be inferior to Chu Zhongtian. The discussions in the surroundings were endless, and they were mixed with controversy. But it was obvious that most people were still very optimistic about Chu Zhongtian, and only a few people were optimistic about Lin Sun. As for Lin Sun, although he had made a lot of troubles, his reputation was much inferior to that of Chu Zhongtian. One was only number 1 on the minor giants roll, while the other had won first place in the stars ranking tournament 3 times. The gap in reputation was too obvious. Reputation didn't necessarily represent a cultivator's full combat power, but there was no false reputation. Chu Zhongtian's strength was obvious to all. In the distance, Lin Sun heard all this, but his heart was calm. Whether it was an ancient freak or a contemporary peerless giant, they were all at the reincarnation development state in terms of cultivation. Cultivation was the foundation of one's combat power. On this point, Lin Sun wasn't afraid of anyone in the past or present. As for the level of combat power, it depended on their achievements on the peerless path. On this point, Lin Sun also had absolute confidence. This kind of confidence didn't need others' affirmation or judgment. It was a kind of invincible spirit that had been honed for a long time. What made Lin Sun frown was that the mysterious woman had once given a warning and deterrence to the 6 ancient orthodoxies, including the Heaven's Pivot Holy Land. But it was obvious that although these orthodoxies had endured, they hadn't given up the idea of attacking him. They couldn't bully the weak, so they sent a character like Chu Zhongtian to suppress him and save face. It could even be foreseen that this time it was Chu Zhongtian, and there might be more similar characters in the future. From the chatting of the crowd, Lin Sun also learned that recently, the ancient Desolation realm seemed to have changed. Peerless geniuses and geniuses were born one after another. This shocked the world. At the same time, all the major orthodoxies and tribes in the world started to take action to prepare for the coming great era, causing the world to be turbulent and showing unprecedented changes. Even in some ordinary and inconspicuous forces, there were some heaven-defying freaks who had been hidden for a long time, which stunned the world. Heroes were born in troubled times, and the great era was destined to be full of shining stars. Boom! In the distant sky, a thunderous roar suddenly sounded, which attracted the attention of everyone present. A purple gold treasure carriage pulled by a few auspicious beasts crushed through the clouds, rumbling as it flew over. In the blink of an eye, it had descended from the void. Hiss! Many people gasped when they noticed that the people driving the purple gold chariot were 2 King Realm powerhouses. Who was so arrogant to let a King Realm powerhouse be their driver? Everyone raised their heads to look over, and they saw a tall and thin young man in dark clothes walking down from the violet gold treasured carriage. In an instant, everyone felt a piercing pain in their eyes, because the aura around the young man in black clothes was too blazing, and a golden divine light enveloped him. When his eyes opened and closed, it was as if there was a sun in them, and it was breathtaking. Chu Zhongtian. His light was like the sun in the sky. Only when they saw him did they understand how terrifying his power was. He was like a blazing sun that had appeared in the field. The scene was silent, and the sounds of discussion had disappeared. There was absolute silence, and everyone consciously made way for him. At the same time, an indescribable feeling of anticipation and excitement surged in everyone's hearts. This time, Chu Zhongtian seemed to be even stronger, and he had an unparalleled aura like an overlord of a realm. He had personally come to suppress demon god Lin. Would the latter dare to accept the challenge? Everyone was filled with anticipation. Chu Zhongtian did not seem to notice the changes in the field at all. His figure shone brightly as he walked to the shore of the star-chest sea. He looked into the distance with a sense of contentment, as if he was taking a stroll in the park and admiring the scenery. In the distance, two King Realm powerhouses stood silently in front of the purple-gold chariot, seemingly indifferent to what was happening. Lin Sun, who was sitting cross-legged on an island not far from the coast, also noticed Chu Zhongtian. However, he only sized him up briefly before retracting his gaze. His mind was like an ancient well, without any ripples. Lin Sun, do you dare to show yourself and fight? Suddenly Chu Zhongtian spoke. His voice was not loud, but it reverberated in the world, spreading towards the depths of the star-chest sea. Lin Sun could not help but laugh. This fellow was really straightforward. Unfortunately, he wasn't waiting here for Chu Zhongtian to challenge him. The great era was coming soon, and Lin Sun could not be bothered to fight now. It was not because he was afraid, but because it was meaningless. He stood up, intending to return to the depths of the star-chest sea to continue cultivating. But at this moment, Chu Zhongtian suddenly said, I know you're here. The reason I'm here today is to fight you. Firstly, it's to avenge the successor of the Heaven's Pivot Holy Land who died in your hands. Secondly, it's to avenge the shame of our sect. His voice reverberated through the heavens and earth, indifferent and filled with boundless killing intent. Very powerful. Everyone's hearts trembled. Ever since Chu Zhongtian appeared, he didn't conceal his intentions at all. It was simple and direct, yet it revealed a domineering aura. You should leave. I don't plan on taking action before the great era arrives. Lin Sun said casually. Everyone was stunned at first before they were overjoyed. As expected, demonic god Lin was hiding in the star-chest sea. Previously, they only had their suspicions. Now that they had confirmed it, they felt that their trip here was not in vain. Since I'm here, it's impossible for me to leave. Regardless of whether you're afraid or not, you're bound to be unable to escape this battle today. Chu Zhongtian's voice was unquestionable, as if an emperor was issuing a decree. Lin Sun narrowed his black eyes and said expressionlessly, If I want to kill you, I can do it with a flip of my hand. I advise you not to be stubborn. Chu Zhongtian laughed, with a hint of unscrupulousness. I've heard that you once used the power of the restriction in the star-chest sea to kill various kings. However, I believe that you definitely won't dare to do so this time. Lin Sun raised his eyebrows. This guy was too confident and arrogant. Who gave him the confidence? Chu Zhongtian waved his hand. In the distance, an old monster of the King Realm, who was silently guarding there, pulled out a person from the purple-gold treasure carriage. It was a young man. Obviously, he had been restricted and could not move. When he appeared, his expression was livid and furious, but he couldn't say a word. Everyone in the field was shocked and agitated. Gu Yunting. When he saw the restricted young man, Lin Sun's heart sank, and a chill surged uncontrollably in his black eyes. Back then, in the ancient Song province where the Heavens Pivot sacred ground occupied, he and Gu Yunting had already made up their differences. Moreover, he had kindly reminded Gu Yunting to leave the Heavens Pivot sacred ground as soon as possible so that he wouldn't be implicated. But Lin Sun didn't expect that Chu Zhongtian would actually kidnap Gu Yunting. No wonder he dared to be so confident and clamored that he had to fight him. It turned out that he had a hostage in his hands. With your status, don't you think it's too much to do such a despicable thing? Lin Sun's voice became cold. Back then in the ancient Song province, didn't you also imprison Xue Qianhen, Zhang Zheng, Jade Baby, Pei Wen, and the others like this? Chu Zhongtian's expression was calm as he said, I'm just giving you a taste of your own medicine. It's not too much to say. At this point, everyone finally understood that Chu Zhongtian had clearly come prepared this time. he had forced Fiend Celestial Lin to accept the challenge. "Let him go and I'll fight you." Lin Sun didn't waste words. As he spoke, he appeared in the star chess sea and locked his gaze on Chu Zhongtian. "All right." Chu Zhongtian smiled and agreed without hesitation. He waved his hand and directly released Gu Yunting, as if he wasn't worried that Lin Sun would go back on his word. Chapter 11:21. Lin Sun stepped into the void and came to the coast. "Lin Sun, I'm sorry, Gu Yunting's imprisonment was lifted. He was ashamed and couldn't face Lin Sun. "Leave it to me. This started with me, so it should be ended by me." Lin Sun patted his shoulder and looked at Chu Zhongtian in the distance. At this moment, he seemed to have become another person. He didn't hide his killing intent at all. His black eyes were as deep as the abyss, and an invisible power shrouded the world. So strong. Everyone's heart trembled. It was the first time they saw Lin Sun's power. Not bad. However, without the support of that female saint, you are doomed to not be able to make any waves. Chu Zhongtian stood on the spot while his entire body flowed with golden divine radiance, and it formed into a myriad of strands of ghastly blade chi that flowed with brilliant divine radiance. "You're wrong. I have never relied on others to solve my problems since I started cultivating. It's the same with you." Everyone present agreed with Lin Sun's words. There was absolutely no falsehood in these words. Who knew Lin Sun's past dared to say that he bullied others? No. He had earned his fame by risking his life alone. His numerous battle achievements were not exaggerated at all. No one could slander him. If it weren't for the 6 saints who attacked together last time, the mysterious woman wouldn't have shown up to support Lin Sun. Yet today, Chu Zhongtian had spoken in such a manner. It was obvious that he was trying to defame Ling Xian. "That's for the best. I can also tell you that I will personally suppress you in this battle, and let you die convinced." A wave of murderous intent swept out from Chu Zhongtian's body like a tsunami, sweeping through the entire area. He stood there like a god, the saber chi around him blazed brightly, and golden light shone brightly. "How dare you talk big when you can't even beat Yun Qing by after cultivating for 1,000 years? Lin Sun laughed. Clang! The divine saber chi was ringing in his ears. Chu Zhongtian's body did not move. But at this moment, hundreds of golden saber chi swept over. Like a waterfall of rainbows, it was incomparably dazzling. Lin Sun clenched his palm into a fist, gathered the profound meaning of 9 strikes of shaking heaven, and then fiercely punched out. The fist light was condensed, simple and ethereal, bursting out in the void. Now, he could display the might of the heaven-shaking fist with a casual punch. He was different from before he participated in the minor tycoon ranking. Boom! The blade energy and the fist energy collided, causing the space here to collapse and divine radiance to erupt. In an instant, the two of them engaged in a fierce battle. Everyone retreated in succession. A battle like this was absolutely an unparalleled battle, and its destructive force was too shocking. No one was willing to be affected by it. Clang! Chu Zhongtian's body was like the sun as he moved across the void. The golden divine light around him all turned into golden and ghastly blade auras. After that, a shocking scene appeared. The blade chi transformed into a pair of blade wings that were suffused with a peerlessly sharp glow and covered the heavens and the earth. Chu Zhongtian's speed was even faster, and his aura was even more terrifying. When he rushed out, even space itself collapsed. Hundreds and thousands of blade radiance shot out, slaughtering everything within the universe. The level of his blade intent seemed as if it could slaughter ghosts and gods. Lin Sun's figure was like an illusion as he utilized the Ice Dragon steps and executed the heaven-shaking 9 strike. Every single fist energy that erupted revealed an all-conquering force that shook the heavens and the earth. At his level of cultivation, every single move of his was filled with the energy of the Tao. It was capable of drawing upon the energy of the heavens and the earth, causing mountains, rivers, and everything to resonate. It couldn't be compared to the past. The two of them collided like a thunderclap. Besides the clanging of the blade, there was also the whistling of the extremely strong and unyielding fist energy that erupted with boundlessly terrifying fluctuations. In the blink of an eye, they'd already collided over 100 times, causing blazing light to illuminate this expanse of the sky. The two of them passed each other while revealing strange expressions. Chu Zhongtian was even more shocked. He was shocked by Lin Sun's strength, and it was far from what he'd expected. Lin Sun was slightly surprised instead. Through this short period of contact, he'd instantly determined that Chu Zhongtian ought to have stepped into the threshold of attaining perfection in the path of absolute cultivation. This was already the highest realm in the path of absolute cultivation, and one could be called a supreme overlord after stepping into this realm. It was no wonder that Chu Zhongtian was able to seize the first in the star-ranking competition 3 times in a row and act so overbearingly and directly. So it turned out that he had something to rely on. Swoosh! Chu Zhongtian circled in the sky like a divine bird that soared through the 9 heavens, and he charged over once more. This time, everyone noticed that Chu Zhongtian's imposing aura was even more terrifying. On his back was a pair of wings formed from dense blade qi, and they were like the golden wings of a rock. At this moment, they suddenly lit up with surging thunderstorm arcs that were dazzling and resplendent, and it was practically suffocating. Thunderstorm blade wings! Someone cried out loudly. This was a secret of the heavens' pivot sacred grounds, and it was extremely difficult to cultivate and extremely terrifying. Once this blade wing was formed, not only would its speed rise explosively, its combat strength would rise sharply as well. It was capable of stirring the heavens and the earth, overturning mountains and rivers, and its murderous might was swift and fierce to the extreme. It was practically capable of slashing through everything. Lin Sun didn't panic in the slightest. He circulated the Tao of the True Dragon, and the Ice WRM steps instantly underwent a qualitative transformation, causing Lin Sun to seem as if he'd transformed into an Ice WRM that soared through the sky and pressed down upon the heavens. Rumble! The two of them were locked in a fierce battle once more. Blade Qi shot into the sky while the force of their fists was like a dragon. Terrifying fluctuations of combat strength surged like an ocean, drowning this expanse of the heavens and the earth, and only the figures of the two of them could be seen colliding ceaselessly. After a while, both of them retreated. Chu Zhongtian's face was cold. His shoulder was swept by the fist force, and blood spurted out. It was just a little bit away from hitting his head. Lin Sun's body was surrounded by clear brilliance, and his body was enshrouded in dense Taoist light. His aura was unparalleled, and just by standing there casually, he had the momentum of a demonic god that could swallow mountains and rivers. Demon God Lin is so strong. Many people's hearts trembled. Everyone knew that Lin Sun, who was less than 30 years old, had just won the first place on the junior tycoon list. He could already be called the number 1 among the younger generation. And Chu Zhongtian was undoubtedly more dazzling. In the past 1,000 years, he had appeared 3 times and won the first place on the stars list, shocking the world and being regarded as a peerless genius. Except for losing to Yun Qinbai, he was almost invincible. But now, Chu Zhongtian's domineering attack seemed to be unable to do anything to Demon God Lin, and he was even slightly injured. Didn't this mean that in the competition on the peerless path, Demon God Lin had already surpassed the younger generation and possessed the power to challenge the veteran tycoons? If that was the case, it was too scary. At this time, Chu Zhongtian couldn't calm down. He had thought that he could defeat all the opponents in the world this time, and that only the peerless figures of the previous generation like him could compete with him. But now, he had met his match. It was hard for him to believe. When he was defeated by Yun Qinbai was already known as the number 1 under the King Realm, and Demon God Lin in front of him was even younger than Yun Qinbai. You came in a threatening manner. But that's all you've got? No wonder you were defeated by Yunqi by that year. It was already destined. Lin Sun frowned. He wasn't being sarcastic, but after the real confrontation, he had thoroughly judged the strength and depth of Chu Zhongtian. Chu Zhongtian was indeed very strong, but Lin Sun had overestimated him. He had thought that a peerless figure who had been in closed-door training for 1,000 years and had once stirred up the world should have extremely terrifying combat power. But now it seemed that Lin Sun was a little disappointed. In fact, it wasn't that Chu Zhongtian wasn't strong, but that he had now stood at an unprecedented level on the road of Tao. 1 year of cultivation in the immortal secret realm had made him complete his cultivation. Just like now, if he wanted to improve his combat power, he could only rely on the power of martial arts. There was no room for improvement on the road of Tao. Shameless boasting. Chu Zhongtian's voice was low, and his eyes were cold and ruthless as he looked at Lin Sun. He raised his right arm, and with a clang, a bronze spear flowing with lightning appeared. "I'll kill you!" He waved the spear, and the thunder roared and the lightning shot out. The blade wings behind him spread out and he swooped down. Lin Sun's words hurt his self-esteem. Since he was born, he had been disdainful of his generation and was regarded as one of the strongest who could compete for hegemony in the great world. His only defeat was to Yun Qinbai, which was a stain on his record. No matter how brilliant his life was and how high he reached, he was destined to be unable to wash away this stain. However, he could be defeated by Yun Qinbai, but he could never tolerate being ridiculed and slandered by a young man like Lin Sun. Crack! Lin Sun's expression was composed as he raised his hand and pointed. A Swanee seal flashed out, and it converged the aura of the true dragon to collide with Chu Zhongtian's spear. The bronze spear was obviously an extraordinary ancient treasure. It was peerlessly sharp and coiled with lightning, and it was capable of destroying and shattering all things. However, Lin Sun wasn't a pushover that could be crushed at will. Bang! He was still barehanded, and he pushed forward like a fiend god as he started to display the 9 transformations of the Calamity Dragon. Numerous tribulation symbols appeared and branded themselves in the sky, and they emanated a boundless sound that was like the roar of a dragon that surged through the surroundings. Many cultivators were shaken to the point their ears droned while they saw stars, their vital energy and blood roiled, and they felt uncomfortable to the point they were on the verge of coughing up blood. Moreover, their minds were suffering the pressure of a dragon. They were astounded, and they retreated once more. "Kill!" Chu Zhongtian shouted explosively. The two of them fought in the sky, and it was like 2 dragons were tearing each other apart in a life-and-death battle. Divine radiance was released like tidewater, and it surged between them and formed a terrifying force of destruction. This was a battle that shook the heavens. At least to the spectators, no matter if it was Lin Sun or Chu Zhongtian, both of them could be considered as giants amongst the peerless figures in the world. Chu Zhongtian's strength is undoubtedly formidable, but the most shocking is undoubtedly demonic god Lin. Exactly. Based on the combat strength he revealed, he would have the qualifications to contend for the top even if he participated in the stars ranking competition. Unfortunately, a great era has arrived, and the stars ranking competition is bound to be unable to be carried out in the distance, the cultivators exclaimed with admiration. They felt that this trip wasn't in vain because they'd personally witnessed a battle between the top. However, the changes that occurred in the battlefield caused their discussions to come to an abrupt halt. Pooh! In the sky, Chu Zhongtian was blasted flying. A tribulation symbol had fiercely imprinted itself on his chest, causing his skin to split open and his bones to break and collapse. This time, everyone saw it clearly. In a direct confrontation, demonic god Lin had forcefully injured his opponent, and he'd revealed peerless might. The hearts of everyone trembled. Could it be that Chu Zhongtian was really going to lose? At the same time, Lin Sun strode forward in the sky and spoke coldly, You can't even defeat Yun Chi Bai from all those years ago, yet you dare to provoke me? You're just courting death. His voice rumbled and reverberated throughout the universe. Everyone was stunned. The meaning behind his words was too frightening. Only by defeating Yun Chi Bai would he be qualified to challenge demonic god Lin? This was obviously not even putting Yun Chi Bai in his eyes. P.S. Thank you to Brother Dajiang on the public account for leaving comments and likes every day. Thank you to all the brothers and sisters who have tipped and supported me today. I've seen all your comments in the book review section.